Saul Goodman recently. I've become such a huge lawsuit enthusiast over the last, 6 or so months. Not me, issuing lawsuits, I've still never done that. Though, with all the stories I've read, that could be a very interesting branch of content, just frivolously filing lawsuits to see how it goes, I guess. Because apparently no one ever gets punished for doing that. Best example is the classic silly Billy Mitchell, the video game player of the century who files a new lawsuit anytime someone makes a joke about him being a cheater. And I'm not using the word allegedly, Billy. You are a scumbag cheater, and I hope you lose all of your ongoing lawsuits, brother. But anyway, enough bravado here and lat spreading on Billy Mitchell, celebrating every single L that he keeps taking, and will most likely continue to keep taking. Let's focus on what I want to talk about. I have really enjoyed diving into the most outrageous, most unhinged lawsuits imaginable. And last night, I found the magnum opus. This is the craziest lawsuit I've ever even been made aware of. There was a lawsuit I covered a couple years ago where there was a Twitch viewer who was suing Twitch because they were showing him female streamers and he couldn't stop jerking off, so he was suing for millions of dollars worth of damages, claiming it's immoral that Twitch would have these, female streamers doing suggestive things and it forces him to masturbate or whatever. And that, to me, for a while, was probably one of the most entertainingly awful lawsuits I'd read about. But what I read last night actually beats it. A man in Australia filed a lawsuit against a hospital for $1 billion Australian dollars, which converts to about 643 million freedom bucks. And the reason he was suing this hospital is because he watched his wife give birth. He believed that what he had witnessed there was basically a war crime, like a violation of his human rights and a complete failure on that hospital's duty of care to him to make sure that he didn't see that. He was upset because the hospital not only allowed him to watch his wife's birth via C-section, but also encouraged it. Which to me doesn't sound like anything weird from the hospital. I mean, they call it the miracle of childbirth for a reason. Plus, if he wasn't allowed to watch it, I feel like that would be a huge problem. Being denied access to your wife during the most important moment of your relationship, I imagine would actually be grounds for a lawsuit. Most people, I would imagine, would want to be there with their partner to comfort and be able to take part in the gift of life, I guess. But this guy believed that they should have shielded his eyes and plugged his ears or something, and the fact that they didn't caused him psychotic illness. And he believes he's entitled to at least $1 billion Australian dollars in damages. Did you hear about the man suing a hospital for $642 million after watching his wife's C-section and said it gave him a psychotic illness? You've got my attention. You undersold this. He's actually suing the hospital for $643 million. Man tries to sue a hospital for $643 million after he was encouraged to watch his wife's C-section. A man in Australia accused a hospital in Melbourne of causing him to develop a psychotic illness after he watched his wife undergo a cesarean section. Interesting. 643 million clams. Anil Coppola tried to sue the Royal Women's Hospital for letting him watch his wife's birth via C-section in 2018. He unsuccessfully sought $1 billion Australian dollars, which is 643 million. A judgment on the lawsuit filed in the Supreme Court of Victoria in Melbourne last week shows. How could this have not worked? What went wrong? Mr. Coppola's wife that day had a healthy baby delivered by cesarean section. Mr. Coppola alleges that he was encouraged or permitted to observe the delivery, that in the course of doing so he saw his wife's internal organs and blood, and that the experience caused the onset of a psychotic illness. He says the hospital breached the duty of care it owed to him and is liable to pay him damages. The hospital admits that it owed to him a duty of care, but denied that it breached it and does not accept that he suffered any injury. In his amended statement of the claim on October 22nd, Mr. Coppola, who is self-represented, that sounds about right. That tracks. Assessed his damages for psychological injury at $1 billion. Isn't this so cringe? The human body is so cringe that C-sections are pretty common because we're not developed enough. We haven't evolved enough to make birthing efficient. So oftentimes they have to deliver the baby through the stomach. Evolution just is... It's got to catch up. We've got to redefine the meta. Birthing should be like the most efficient thing humans are good at. It's like the whole purpose of being an organism. To reproduce. I was just talking to my mom about that. That is an interesting conversation to have with your mom, but yeah, it is a fascinating anomaly why we haven't evolved to be better at it. According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, 32.1% of all baby deliveries in the U.S. in 2021 were cesarean section. Wow. Coppola filed the lawsuit several years after the operation, saying it caused the onset of a psychotic illness that led to a breakdown of his marriage. Yeah, that was the reason. The reason me and my wife broke up is because I had to watch her get a C-section, and I've never been the same. I couldn't look at her the same way. She grossed me out. It was so fucking yucky. I hated her for it. And I hated the hospital for making me see her like that. I've seen her inside and out. Yeah, stared into the abyss. Coppola chose to represent himself in court, where Justice James Gorton dismissed the suit and deemed the claim an abuse of process. I would agree with that. Did he give him like a big speech like, listen, goofball, this is ridiculous. Go home. Get out of my court. If men could birth, would you rather birth an NFL football out of your brown eye or a U.S. quarter out of your one eye? What a philosophical inquiry. I don't know. If I could, if I had to give birth right now and I got to choose, I'd probably try and do it like Majin Buu. So I'd vomit up the creature. I'd really rather not tear my whole ass out or anything like that. That's Piccolo. No, Majin Buu did that too, right? When he vomited out into Super Buu? Or am I misremembering? Trial proceedings included a medical examination of Coppola, with the panel concluding the degree of psychiatric impairment did not satisfy the threshold level, according to the judgment. Lawsuits that are seeking damage for non-economic losses, such as this one, require that an injury is significant, the judgment said. With regards to the medical panel's conclusion, Coppola said he disagreed with it, though the judgment said he was unable to agitate the correctness of it. I can't believe he didn't get $1 billion out of this, because he watched his wife's C-section, and then they got a divorce 3 years later. I want to see if this was televised. I'd love to see how he defended himself. Unfortunately, no footage exists of how this panned out, but man, I would really like to hear some of his arguments. No, listen, Your Honor, you don't understand. A baby came out from her tummy. I can't sleep anymore. I can't even look at her anymore. It's why our marriage fell apart, damn it. It's the hospital's fault for letting me see such a thing. I also love the confidence and delusion to ask for $1 billion from this. Our marriage was so good, Your Honor, you don't understand. It was worth at least $1 billion in order to make up for all of this hardship. I can't believe this. How could they be so cruel to let me see my child being born? No, damn you. Now, obviously, I think this is one of those cases where someone knows that it's ridiculous, but they try anyway and hope to settle out of court. So they go for this alarmingly huge number and then try and negotiate behind closed doors to just squash it. But with something this outlandish, that was never even in the cards. This is such a bogus baloney claim that it never even made it anywhere and never stood a chance either. I think there is a 0% chance that this guy is permanently scarred for life after watching his wife give birth. I understand C-sections are a little scary. I know what they are. Now, granted, I've never seen one in person, so maybe it's different in the Thunderdome. Maybe I'd see it and also just have a full-blown breakdown, my universe crumbles around me, and it fucks me up for life. But even in that case, I still don't think I'd ever win a case for $1 billion because of that. I think that's a hard sell right there. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about this one a little bit because this one had me giggling. This is probably this has to be among the largest asks for a lawsuit based on legitimately nothing. So yeah, just PlayStation for nearly $6 billion by a consumer champion named Alex Neil. Now, I'm not Saul Goodman, but if I was, I'd start planting cocaine right now because this is a huge lawsuit that's going to need a miracle to win, I think. I'm not an expert here, but it does seem like this lawsuit's got teeth, and they're coming at Sony's throat. 6 billion clams, 6 billion barnacles. You know how much I love wackiness. I love wackiness more than Bubble Bass loves Krabby Patties, and this lawsuit's got me hyped. Now, this lawsuit is proudly brought to you by PlayStationYouOweUs.co.uk, which is a beautiful website name. Like, that's pretty aggressive. It reminds me of like a Roblox petition to get their V-Bucks back or something. But this was a site where people would sign up who felt wronged by Sony, and Alex Neil is the class representative. And on the site, there's a 5-point breakdown that talks about why they're trying to steam PlayStation's ham. So the first point being that Sony has a near monopoly on the sale of digital games and add-on content through its control of the PlayStation Store. Sony uses this dominance to enforce strict terms and conditions on game developers and publishers. These terms allow Sony to set the price of digital games and in-game content and charge a 30% commission on every purchase of digital games and in-game content from the PlayStation Store. This results in excessive and unfair prices to consumers for their digital games and in-game content. And these prices are all out of proportion to the costs of Sony providing these services to its consumers. So basically they're saying that Sony has used its dominant position in the market to unfairly overcharge consumers. Now for reference, this was filed in the UK, and a brand new PS5 game in the UK will cost you about £70, which is the equivalent to $82. So I do think they're getting fucked in the ass a bit here. It's quite an overcharge if you ask me. And I'd love to see them win this lawsuit, you know, power to the players, as PlayStation says. But the more I read into it, the less confident I feel that they'll be able to Fortnite dance on the grave of Sony with this lawsuit. I don't really think they're going to get a big W from it. And let me just explain why I think that. I'd love to be proven wrong. Like I said, I think it would be great if they actually did win this lawsuit because I do believe they're being overcharged. But I don't think they have the strongest case here. Just looking at these first 5 points, the first one just stands out as factually incorrect. They're claiming that Sony has a near monopoly on the sale of digital games and add-on content, which is just blatantly wrong. I would slap you with a fat F on your report card if you submitted this to me. Like, that is just not true. There's Xbox, Nintendo, Steam, there's so many other digital games vendors out there, it's not just Sony. Now, if you're talking about PlayStation exclusives, then yes, Sony has a monopoly on the digital sale of the PlayStation exclusives. But if that is the claim, it needs to be a lot more clear because with the wording here, it just makes it sound like you think Sony is the only console to exist and the only platform for digital games, which it isn't. The other thing that was confusing my little reptile brain was that 30% commission they mentioned, talking about how the Sony demands 30% cut of digital game and in-game purchase sales from the developers. That's not exclusive to just Sony. Xbox, Nintendo eShop, pretty much every digital game vendor has some kind of commission that they force. It's not just Sony, so I don't understand why they would target them specifically, since it's the industry norm. But I decided to spread the cheeks a little further, dig a bit deeper, and listen to what the UK consumers were saying. And it seems to be that in the competitors' shops, like the Nintendo eShop, for example, they adjust their prices so that way the conversion makes sense and they're not being overcharged. Like a new Nintendo Switch game is £50, which when converted to like US dollars is about what we're paying in the States. However, when it comes to the PlayStation Store, that's not the case. So a new PlayStation 5 game in the States is $70, and in the UK, it's £70. However, that converts to a lot more. That's 82 US dollars. They are just blatantly paying more. Instead of adjusting that price down to like £60 or whatever, they just keep it at that 70 and thus they're being overcharged. At least that's what I was reading from the UK consumers, which again, at the end of the day, it's blatantly obvious that they are paying a lot more for games than we are in the States. And I totally do agree that it is a ripoff. And Alex Neil, the class representative, has 14 years of experience as a consumer rights advocate. So it's not some joke of a lawsuit that was haphazardly thrown together by a faceless nobody. This isn't like that situation on Twitch where that guy tried to sue Twitch for like $100 million because he couldn't stop watching female streamers and ejaculating, and he tried to blame Twitch for a porn addiction. This isn't that case. This is a real legitimate case that Alex Neil has put together. but I just don't know if it's focused enough to actually win. It seems way too generalized and broad, and you can look no further than their own website, where at the very end of these 5 points, they made this statement that just seems a bit misguided to me. This just seems like another desperate effort to throw something at the wall and see what sticks. The business model of gaming has changed dramatically over recent years. The move from games sold as physical discs to games sold digitally has seen the introduction of in-game content, where players must now also pay to progress, unlock more features, or customize their experience with new characters or weapons. Games are now designed to incentivize players to spend as much money as possible, including children. We believe that customers are paying too much for these digital products and that they deserve to be treated better by Sony and compensated. Our legal action is the first of its kind against Sony in the UK. Now, I am never a fan of the think of the children argument. I don't see why they put this here at all, because this doesn't even really run in line with what the lawsuit's aiming for. This is talking about how predatory microtransactions have become the norm, which they have, and it's a huge issue. But that's not what this lawsuit's really about. It's about being overcharged by the PlayStation Store. Talking about predatory and greedy marketing practices from these games that are preying on children, or like fucking massive dopamine hits, dopamine fiends to spend more money, is an issue, yes, but it's not the issue that you're really aiming at here. You're not putting that in the crosshairs. And it's also not like Sony is the puppet master forcing all these developers to be greedy and put these microtransactions in the game. Like, let's say Diablo Immortal's on PS5. Sony has no say-so in what way they monetize that game. It's on their platform, sure, but it was Blizzard that decided to put all of those terrible, terrible microtransactions in there that are preying on, you know, people with a spending problem or children or whatever, not Sony. Now, if the argument Sony keeps those prices too high, then yes, I suppose there's a real argument to be made there that the price is still too high. But the way this is framed makes it sound like it was Sony that decided to put all of those there when it wasn't. It wasn't their decision to have all of those predatory business practices baked into those games. That was the developers. I just don't really get why it's mentioned here. Because let's say Sony brings the price down so that way it's more fair across the board, where, you know, if you're buying a microtransaction in a game in the UK, it costs exactly the same as what it costs me to buy it in the States. It still doesn't solve the core issue that you're bringing up here with the games being predatory, right? Like, this whole paragraph here is like almost like fear-mongering. Like, games have become really greedy, and it's partly Sony's fault to some degree, which is why we believe you need to be compensated fairly, and we believe you need to be treated better. Like, what exactly do you mean? Again, getting the price down on microtransactions doesn't solve the problem you just highlighted of them being greedy and intrusive. That's still going to exist, even if you win every single bit of this case. Those microtransactions are still going to be there from the developers because it wasn't Sony that put them there. And just one last thing, in the press release, Neil wrote, "The game is up for Sony PlayStation. With this legal action, I am standing up for the millions of UK people who have been unwittingly overcharged. We believe Sony has abused its position and ripped off its customers." Alex Neil hits us with an anime protagonist line saying, "The game's up, Sony. I caught you with your pants down, red-handed. It's time to face the music." And then in the press release, they also kind of frame it like the consumers didn't know they were being overcharged. But I just don't know how true that is. They kind of hint that it's Sony's fault that the consumers didn't know they were being overcharged. Like Sony was doing underhanded business tactics, when I just don't know if I believe that, because Sony doesn't really do anything besides just have a platform with a game and the price next to it. And you choose whether or not to buy it. Now, if you're not comparing that to the rest of the world's prices, then yeah, you would have no idea you're paying more than I am, for example. But it's not like it was Sony that was doing anything to mislead them, at least not that I've ever seen. They just put the games on their service with how much they cost, and it's up to the consumer if they find it to be a reasonable price or not. Now, if they do any research, they'll realize that they're paying more, and Australia especially is paying more than I am. Which is fucked up because there's no reason for it, but I don't think Sony has done anything to try and lead them down some false belief or anything. I think it's just a matter of they've been charging more and no one's really been questioning it, so they haven't changed it. And that's it. They haven't really been doing any kind of like propaganda to try and fool people into thinking that, you know, everyone's paying the same thing. And now that people are waking up to them being exploited, I think it's great that they're, you know, upset about it, because I don't think it's right. I don't think they should be paying more for no reason for the same game. It doesn't make any sense. but I just don't really like the way they talk about it in the press release because they're putting that onus on Sony. That it was, them keeping people in the dark when it wasn't. They just put the games up and that was it. But anyway, overall, I really do hope they win this class action lawsuit and hopefully the prices do change because, like I said, it's a whole bunch of baloney that you're paying significantly more money for the same game in the UK, Australia, wherever else. It doesn't make any sense. There's no reason for that. So hopefully this does bring about positive change and wishing them the best of luck. I just wanted to bring this up because there's a people aren't aware of this lawsuit that's going on right now. So I'm going to do you all a favor and take you by the hand and show you the light. I'm no hero, okay? But please pat me on the back for the bravery anyway. Right now, there is a $3 billion lawsuit going on that names some of the biggest celebrities in the world. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Michael Jordan, and even Chris Benoit. Chris Benoit, many of you probably raised an eyebrow to because he's been dead for well over 10 years now, and he has just been named in a $3 billion lawsuit for conspiracy to kidnap a woman and her children. I'm sure all of you are familiar with the story of Chris Benoit. He was a damn near household name in the wrestling scene, and he ended up killing his family and killing himself. It's a horrific, tragic story, and he's been dead for a long time now. He has been decaying in the ground for a while. And the children here that are talked about in the lawsuit, from everything I've read, were not alive when Chris Benoit still inhabited this corporeal dimension. Which would mean that post-mortem, from beyond the grave, Chris Benoit's spirit would have had to been conspiring with this massive Illuminati network here to commit this kidnapping crime. Which is a bold claim. This is a lawsuit that comes from a former wrestler named Raka Khan, who alleges that there was this massive conspiracy to kidnap her and her children, and she is seeking $3 billion and named not only a ton of celebrities like individuals and pretty much every wrestler that has ever breathed over the last 100 years. I wouldn't be surprised to find Andre the Giant buried somewhere in the list of culprits, but she is also naming entire companies like Home Depot. I shit you not. Home Depot is listed as a part of this conspiracy to kidnap her and her children. It is outrageous. Now, of course, I don't want to rule out the possibility that Home Depot has a seat at the New World Order, and the first order of business was to kidnap her and her children, but with the amount of people and companies listed here, it seems unrealistic. Because, like I said, it wasn't just Home Depot either. Bank of America was listed. The FBI, the entire FBI. There's all these companies apparently had skin in the game, and they're all listed now in this $3 billion lawsuit. Honestly, by the end of reading this list, I was half expecting to see my favorite breakfast restaurant listed here, which is just a mom-and-pop local restaurant. And I thought, you know what, everyone's guilty out here. But yeah, it's pretty outrageous, and I've done a bit of research now on Raka Khan, and she's unfortunately had a lot of bad things happen to her post-wrestling career, as well as even during her wrestling career. For example, she dated Kurt Angle for a while, and there was 2009 incident where like abuse was alleged, but then it was later kind of dropped. But it was very messy, very muddy and fishy. But overall, a lot has happened to her throughout her life. And in 2019, she even landed herself on the most wanted list for El Paso. It's a really wild web, and the lawsuit is pretty concerning, honestly. I went over it all on stream, so I'll just play those clips for you to give you a deeper insight into all of it. Yeah, I'll look up the Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson lawsuit. Here. Someone mentioned that earlier. I forgot to look it up. It was apparently named in a multi-billion-dollar lawsuit from a former WWE wrestler. Holy shit, it's a kidnapping lawsuit. Oh, that's right, live action Moana. Maybe he's being sued because of how horrible that fucking idea is. They're kidnapping the audience's patience. The FBI is named in the lawsuit. Wow, that's awfully ambitious. Her complaint, most of which is made up of those being sued, alleges that those named worked together in a conspiracy to kidnap her and her children. Some other names in the lawsuit are the State of Texas, the El Paso Child Protective Services, the Las Cruces New Mexico Police Department, the NYPD, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, New York ACS, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity, Shirley Police Department, Sigma Phi Epsilon, Suffolk County, New York, the Bank of America, Home Depot, and even who are her children? What? Why would all of these people work together to kidnap her children? Are they like Super Saiyans? Fuck, Jesus Christ. Home Depot of all things. How did they get tossed into the mega mix? What the kidnapping aisle? What happened? Apparently it's proceeded in court. That's what it said at the start. It's making waves in court. Or, making progress in court. Still has a bench warrant out for her after not appearing at a criminal trial in December 2022 in Texas, where she was to face charges of interference with child custody and aggravated kidnapping facilitate. Aggravated kidnapping facilitate. Why does that sound so grammatically incorrect? She paid the court fees, which allowed the case to move forward, but no one's been served yet. And she is currently on their wanted list. And back in 2019 was placed as the most wanted fugitive list for child custody charges by El Paso. So this sounds like very serious mental illness here. What the fuck? Oh my god, Michael Jordan's named in it too. How deep does the web go? Or how deep does the rabbit hole go? If I'm reading this right, The Rock, The Miz, Chris Benoit, Mick Foley, and others conspired to kidnap Raka Khan and her children. Chris Benoit has been dead for fucking 2 decades almost. So the ghost of Chris Benoit conspired to steal her and her children? When did she allege that this happened, this conspiracy? This is so wacky. Holy fuck. Home Depot trying to be the next Wayfair. Yeah, I guess so. This is the next storyline for the WWE. Oh man, fuck, if only the NWL could get in on this action. We'd use this lawsuit for one of our storylines in a heartbeat. This would be huge for us. But I mean, yeah, this is fucking serious delusion. Especially because she's paying a ton of money for this, clearly. She paid all of the fees in order to push this through the court system, apparently. Alright, that's a big chunk of change right down the shitter. Oh, wait, you're right. Wait, Billy Corgan is also named in here. Did you just start naming everyone in the wrestling industry from, like, all promos everywhere? Am I in here? Is the MWL named in this? Fucking Dow Jones listed on this, lawsuit? I can't find the lawsuit, but we got some super sleuths on Twitter that were immediately able to point out some some very shady business of this lawsuit, which is shocking. I mean, everything here seems watertight and sane, but they noticed that her child, that I assume she is referring to a potential kidnapping victim of this massive Illuminati conspiracy kidnapping case, was 4 years old in 2019. So that would mean Chris Benoit had already been dead and buried and literally a fucking skeleton in a coffin at this point. So when she was placed on the most wanted fugitives list, her child was 4, and that was in 2019. So Chris Benoit, he must have been like haunting the family, plotting this one. You're forgetting about potential time traveling shenanigans. I didn't even stop to consider time dilation. You're not wrong. How much is she asking for in damages? $3 billion. Yeah, you must have missed the most important part. Thanks to some Nigel. You think they'll settle? Brother, if a single person listed in this lawsuit even gives this a moment of thought, I would be shocked. No, they're not going to settle for anything. Though, if they want to, they can do it in the squared circle of the Moist Wrestling League. We'll have ourselves our first lawsuit match. We should start suing people like this as a form of networking. Not wrong, Aaron. This actually might be the play. How's Michael Jordan involved if it's all wrestlers? Because it's not all wrestlers. Brother, the FBI and Home Depot are listed here, and Bank of America. It's just she also listed every wrestler ever as well. Legal Eagle on YouTube says she has a legit lawsuit. I already know, I'm just being lied to. Legal Eagle did not just cover this lawsuit. There is a 0% chance. But I'll look it up anyway. I don't know why I'm doing this.
Hey.
Shocking. Nothing from Legal Eagle here. What the fuck did I just read here? Home Depot was an amazing street fight wrestler. His Fampus top rope 2x4 smash. What the fuck? I feel like I know what you were going for, but everything went wrong in the sentence and made it much better. I don't know what a Fampus is, but fuck yeah. Won't this mess up The Rock's work with Disney? No, man. I don't think it will. I mean, hey, I'd actually love to be wrong about that. A live-action Moana is criminal. The movie's not even 10 years old. So if it does impede on that, then this lawsuit was worth it. Currently being sued for $1 billion in a class action lawsuit right now due to them promoting FTX. I don't need to read you the bedtime story of the FTX collapse and disaster. In a very quick and dirty nutshell, it was a very, very large cryptocurrency exchange. You may have even seen the commercial with Larry David where it was, "Don't be like Larry. Crypto's coming and you don't want to miss it, so hop on board, choo-choo, this shit's going right to the moon," that kind of thing. It was this big hype train that seemed to have no end until it ended. The whole thing went tits up, completely collapsed, and was worth less than the gum stuck under your school desk. It was revealed to be fundamentally just a giant scam, and the person behind it, Sam Bankman-Fried, this weaselly goblin homunculus, was basically just a big fraudster, the puppet master behind this whole thing. And so the train derailed, and instead of spilling vinyl chloride, it spilt dust, because there was no money in there at all. So many people lost so much, it was a complete catastrophe, and since the days of its crumbling, a lot has happened. Not just with the people on the inside like Sam Bankman-Fried, but even the people who were loosely connected to it, like brand ambassadors, for example. They've already put Tom Brady, for instance, in the crosshairs. Tom Brady was a big FTX shill, as were quite a few other celebrities, but one of them I'd like to make special note of is Shaq. According to numerous sources, Shaq is currently trying to be issued a lawsuit for his involvement with FTX, but is hiding from them in his own home. So it's just almost kind of comical to think about Shaq hiding from the FTX lawsuit, like real Looney Tunes style, like he's, crouching behind his bar in his home or something while the guy's trying to deliver paperwork to him, but he can't find him, like a mission out of fucking Splinter Cell or something. It's a wild situation. A ton of A-list celebrities are being sued because of all of this, and now it extends to more than just the A-list Hollywood celebrities and sports stars. It's extending to the YouTubers as well, which brings us to today's topic. There is a handful of YouTubers who are getting slapped with a $1 billion lawsuit for their involvement in the promotion of FTX. 1 billion clams. 1 billion sweet, precious doubloons are at stake now for these YouTubers. And Coffeezilla just posted a video going over all of it in great detail, so I'll put a link to that in the description. I just want to kind of give you the nitty-gritty of it and kind of get into what's going on and really what it means. Now, you might have had a little twinkle in your eye when you noticed a few of those names were familiar to you, and that's totally natural because these are huge channels on YouTube. They have millions of subscribers, and all of them are financial channels. Their content is always centered around big schmeckles. The topics are money, making money, advice, following trends, crypto, the whole kit and caboodle. And speaking of recognizing names on the list, I don't know if you caught it, but we actually have a cameo from a supervillain we may have seen in the past. BitBoy Crypto, Ben. Ben is named in this lawsuit. BitBoy Crypto is someone I've made 2 videos on now. The first was when he sued a YouTuber who was making jokes about him, and the second time was when he called a completely random woman a child molester because the woman was calling him out on promoting dog shit crypto. So, I'm not the biggest fan of BitBoy Crypto. So seeing his name in there kind of gave me little butterflies in my tummy. I had a little smile like, oh wow, well, how the tables have turned, because usually BitBoy Crypto is the one administering these lawsuits, which is a joke Coffeezilla also made in his video, because it's just an easy dunk. BitBoy Crypto is very loosey-goosey with frivolous lawsuits, and now he's being named in a big lawsuit. It's poetic to a certain extent. But I'm going to have to go to bat for him, because BitBoy Crypto, as pointed out by Coffeezilla, was actually one of the very few financial channels who started calling out FTX before they even collapsed. I know, I couldn't believe it when I heard that either. I didn't think I was even in reality anymore. I thought I got trapped in a Naruto genjutsu. The odds of BitBoy Crypto offering good advice are incalculably low. It's almost impossible. It's like almost as impossible as fucking Netflix's Big Mouth telling a good joke. BitBoy Crypto's entire career is built upon offering the worst crypto investment advice into these absolute dogshit moonshot coins that almost always lose his audience money. And yet, in this specific case, he fucking nailed it. He got it right. According to Coffeezilla and his research, Ben had actually made a handful of videos letting people know that they need to get out of FTX immediately. That it's toxic, it's bad, and shit's not looking good, it's evil, this and that. And he was absolutely right. I mean, even a broken clock is right twice a day, as they say. And Ben absolutely hit the nail on the head. He pinned the tail right on that donkey. He was telling people like a month before the collapse even happened that they need to pull out now. And still he gets named in the lawsuit here. As you can imagine, a lawsuit like this is a reputational stain for all of these YouTubers because people look to them for financial advice, and now their credibility has been fucking slammed. It's been slapped by this because they were shilling a fucking scam, basically, that lost a ton of people money. The big issue is they weren't just talking about FTX positively because they wanted to talk about FTX organically. A lot of them were being sponsored to talk about FTX and promote it. In fact, some of them even had a podcast that was sponsored by FTX. It's now been deleted, of course. They buried that as far into the soil as they could. But they were being paid to shill FTX, which of course gave FTX access to even more victims. It brought more people to the slaughterhouse here and completely butchered their finances when FTX inevitably crashed. So now let's start eating the meat to get to the bone. It's targeting financial YouTubers. I think you can probably imagine why. Financial YouTubers are looked at as experts in this kind of subject matter. Promoting FTX gives the perception to the audience that they've done their due diligence. They're working on the assumption that this financial YouTuber is trusted source when it comes to this kind of information, so this product, which fits right in that wheelhouse, must be something legit and safe. Because this financial YouTuber is talking about it and feels comfortable enough promoting it, it's probably legit. They're viewed as experts, thus, when they're doing an FTX sponsorship, it makes it seem even more legit than if it was just some completely random goofball that has no knowledge whatsoever on anything like crypto. So that, to me, makes a lot of sense, but in Coffeezilla's video, he talks to a real lawyer, Legal Eagle. Legal Eagle is an amazing channel on YouTube that I can't recommend enough, and Legal Eagle weighs in and says that he actually views this as kind of a meritless lawsuit. I'll do my best to break it down very quickly, but keep in mind I'm also a fucking idiot. So the first thing that the lawsuit needs to be successful is it needs to connect the endorser to FTX itself. But the people that were endorsing it, I mean, they're not employees of FTX, they're not agents, they're not directors or anything like that. And oh my god, I got something in my eye. Fucking Sam Bankman-Fried shot a dust particle right in my eye. And then the second main component is they need to have the endorsers be liable, kind of like privy to what was happening at the behind the scenes of FTX, which Legal Eagle argues is kind of factually odd because even if they're endorsing FTX, it doesn't mean they understand what's going on the inside of the company. They're not necessarily going to be given information that isn't available to the public. They're not going to automatically know more than what's publicly accessible to everybody else. So he fundamentally says that it's not the strongest case, and he doesn't think it's going to go anywhere, but it's going to be expensive for the YouTubers named in the suit to fight it. But regardless of whether or not the lawsuit itself is successful, the community of these channels is not super happy about this whole situation because a lot of them fell hook, line, and sinker into FTX because of their recommendations. in CoffeeZilla's video, he interviews one of the people here, and CoffeeZilla doesn't pull punches. I always very much appreciate that about his interviews. So here he does absolutely lay it down to get to the bottom of very important questions such as, are you going to give back the money you made from the sponsorships? And all of those things. And all of it's answered in CoffeeZilla's video. But one thing that's interesting about the person being interviewed here is that he puts the onus on the viewers that fell for it, not so much him. In fact, he makes it very clear that he doesn't feel responsible. He just feels bad that some of the people that lost all of their money for being irresponsible in their own personal way. He doesn't feel responsible for it, which I found very interesting. I agree with CoffeeZilla that the viewers look at channels like his and other financial YouTubers as experts in this field. So when they're recommending something like FTX, they assume due diligence has been done and that this is a trustworthy organization that they can put money into. And in the case of FTX, that couldn't have been further from the truth. Thus, their credibility now is completely in the shitter. And a lot of people lost a lot of money from this trusting these YouTubers, which is a big problem. And that's a point CoffeeZilla likes to make at the end of the video that I think is a very strong point. So overall, these YouTubers are being sued for $1 billion. It doesn't, from the sound of it, from the expert like Legal Eagle, it doesn't sound like they're actually going to lose a collective $1 billion from all of this unless some kind of crazy shit comes out. But regardless, it highlights a huge issue where they would promote this product without ever really bothering to look that deep into it, which isn't a problem that's exclusive to just these financial YouTubers. That extends to the broader platform of YouTube as a whole. And in fact, it's happened to me before as well. On the official podcast, we actually had a sponsorship slot for Robinhood. And even though Robinhood isn't like an outright scam or anything, at least not that I know of, they have done some unforgivably shady shit. And I still feel awful about that whole situation because they had like 5 slots on the podcast and I thought it was a good service, but I was kind of naive to think that. I am no Robinhood fan anymore after the multitude of scummy moves they've made. So it is something that has happened in other verticals of the platform, but in this case it is targeted directly at the financial YouTubers in the lawsuit, and it's a very interesting situation here that I'm going to keep my eye on to see how it all plays out. But anyway, evil companies on the planet is Disney. I imagine the board of directors is a who's who of supervillains. You probably got Mickey Mouse right next to Lucifer in that seat. It is always shocking to see just how low they'll stoop for the sake of a couple extra doubloons. They're like a real-world Umbrella Corp, but instead of manufacturing the T virus that turns people into zombies, they manufacture the D virus that turns people into Disney Defenders, where they'll always fight their PR battles for them and constantly empty their piggy bank for anything Disney slaps its fucking logo on. It's sickening, even when they are completely in the wrong. I've been following a story for the last couple days, and I imagine some of you have as well. It's a very sad story about a woman who had an allergic reaction and died after eating at a Disney Springs restaurant. And the holly jolly old assholes at Disney are arguing that because the husband signed up for a Disney Plus trial in 2019, he agreed to terms that would basically turn this lawsuit into toilet paper. To any sensible human being on the planet with a functioning frontal lobe, you're probably asking yourself, how does a Disney Plus trial at all have any grounds for this lawsuit when the allergic reaction happened at one of Disney's parks? It's not like his wife had an allergic reaction to the dog shit Disney Plus is feeding them. She passed away because of a complete failure from the restaurant. It is entirely their fault. So the couple chose to eat at a restaurant called Raglan Road Irish Pub, and they told the waiter that she had severe allergies to dairy and nuts, and she was unequivocally assured the food would be allergen-free, and they chose this restaurant because it is apparently very accommodating to people with allergies. So when the order arrived, there was no allergen-free flags, so they inquired again if it was allergen-free, and were once again assured that they were safe for her to consume. 45 minutes later, she had an allergic reaction. Even after administering an EpiPen, she had difficulty breathing, collapsed, and later passed away. And the husband is rightfully trying to sue Disney for this because it is a colossal fuck up here. And Disney's just dancing on her grave. They're just spitting on her memory by trying to toss out the wrongful death lawsuit, by trying to say that the husband signed up for a Disney Plus account in 2019, which has language that prevents them from being sued in this manner. It'd have to be through arbitration, meaning it's overseen by a neutral third party and not a judge. And also, he had apparently agreed to similar terms when purchasing a park ticket online in September 2023. So this opened up a massive can of worms here about all of the sneaky, scummy shit companies sneak into their terms when you sign up for services or if you purchase things online. You know that shit that every human being on the planet skips through with agreeing to terms and conditions? Yeah, it turns out sometimes there's some really awful shit in there. I wanted to wait before talking about this because I've been talking to a lawyer about it because I was very curious if there is any legs at all for Disney to stand on here. But I just couldn't wait because I've already seen a couple of conversations about why it's entirely this couple's fault for gambling with their food allergies. The state of the world is so fucking saddening. How is it a gamble? So she was allergic to dairy and nuts, and this was made abundantly clear to the staff of a restaurant that is well known for being accommodating to allergies. Apparently this restaurant has a commitment to being very conscious of allergens. So they chose this restaurant for that reason and made it very clear multiple times that dairy and nuts were a problem. And they were assured multiple times that the food they had ordered was not going to pose any problems for that allergy. They did everything they could. That's not gambling, you absolute Cro-Magnon that are arguing that it's actually their fault, Disney's blameless. This is what I'm talking about with the D virus. People falling over themselves to try and take bullets for Disney. It is a fuck up from the restaurant and by extension, Disney. I know they have more money than God, but even still, this is such an outrageous claim to be making because signing up for a Disney Plus trial should have no effect on what happens at a Disney park. That's not related at all. It shouldn't extend to that. Just imagine if that was normal. Let's say you're on a Boeing flight and all the screws on the flight all of a sudden just spontaneously pop off like a water balloon exploding, and all of a sudden your plane just disassembles itself in the air and you die. Everyone dies on board because the Boeing flight malfunctions, as Boeing flights are known to do these days. Well, what if Boeing said, that's a real shame about that, but, we can't be held liable for this because every single one of them, when purchasing their tickets online, agreed that no matter what happens, it's going to have to go to arbitration, so sorry about that, but really condolences. I am super confident that wouldn't work. You can't just have this blanket statement of, whatever happens, not our fault, and you agreed to it, see, you said right here, doesn't matter, you're fucked. Like, that can't work. And from what I've heard from a couple of lawyers that have talked about it online, as well as a couple conversations I've had, this doesn't really protect Disney, but this has become so common in contracts as a way of trying to weasel big corporations out of liability. But it's still scary because it does give them some leverage to fight on. It gives them an angle, and with the amount of money they can pour into defending themselves, it's going to make it very hard for normal people to fight back, even when Disney is 100% responsible for the tragedy that occurred. But at least Disney's very apologetic here. We're deeply saddened by the family's loss and understand their grief. Given that this restaurant is neither owned nor operated by Disney, we are merely defending ourselves against the plaintiff's attorney's attempt to include us in their lawsuit against the restaurant. They're fundamentally going, we don't know those guys. They just use our land. We're kind of just like a landlord. We are not associated with those scoundrels over there at all. No, not us. Nope. You're coming after the wrong guy, bub. Go after them. Not our fault. And if you do want to go after us, you can't really because your Disney Plus free trial from 2019. Did you forget about that? Eek, sorry. Now, the lawyer representing the family called it absurd and preposterous, saying that the case is based on the incredible argument that any person who signs up for an account, even free trials that are not extended beyond the trial period, will have forever waived the right to a jury trial, which is pure insanity. And they also argue that Mr. Piccolo, the husband, agreed to the terms of use for himself, but he's now acting on behalf of his late wife, who never agreed to the terms, which I think is a really strong point. I think the lawyer is right here. His wife never signed up for the Disney Plus trial, thus she shouldn't be subjected to the fucking shackle and chains that apparently every Disney Plus subscriber is now succumbed to. The lawyer then goes on to say, the notion that terms agreed to by a consumer when creating a Disney Plus free trial account would forever bar that consumer's right to a jury trial in any dispute with any Disney affiliate or subsidiary is so outrageously unreasonable and unfair as to shock the judicial conscience. It really is exceptionally evil, and from what I've read here, it's not exclusive to Disney. So apparently there was even a time where they were going to get close to protecting consumers from this kind of shit with like these arbitration clauses that get snuck into contracts that you sign up for unknowingly, because it is unreasonable to expect anyone to read all 65 pages of every terms and condition for every service you sign up for. There's no human being on the planet that has the chutzpah to sit through and read all of that. But apparently that ruling that was going to protect consumers got fucked in Congress. So it's just, corporations really do operate on a different level than everything and everyone else. So no matter how much they are pushed to stop this shady shit, they can always pay their way out of it so it never actually sees the light of day and they can continue to do the scummiest things. Another quote here is, most of the companies in the U.S. require mandatory arbitration and allows them to, by and large, cut off much relief. Companies love it, but individuals who are harmed by these corporations really don't have any access to any form that would give them relief, as that's a real problem. It just limits consumers' options. It protects companies by fucking consumers in the face. The Supreme Court's view is, if you don't like it, don't sign it. Which is a super easy position to have for all the troglodytes in Supreme Court, because they're so ancient and archaic that these geriatric fossils don't sign up for anything or any service because they don't even know what a goddamn computer is. They're still learning about that mystical, magical thing called the cyberspace and the internet. So they don't even know what the fuck this is. All they need to know is what the corporations tell them they need to know. But every normal person in the world all has different services that they have to sign up for. I'm not talking about just like entertainment services. Like, no one needs to have like a Netflix account or anything, or Epic Games account or something. But even just like, I remember 10 years ago when I was in my apartment, there was an online sign up I had to do that had pages upon pages upon pages of terms and conditions. And I didn't read through all of them. I feel like most people don't read through all of them. Banking online, all types of services that are literally required for most normal people all have tons and tons of terms and conditions, and they are probably sneaking in some truly heinous shit. And this story right here helps shine a light on some of it and how unreasonable it is. And the Supreme Court saying, if you don't like it, don't sign up for it, is just, that's not realistic. It's just not at all. But yeah, anyway, this shit is super horrible. Disney super sucks. In 3 days I have made on this massive Lego scandal, but I can't help it. This is one of the crazier stories I think I've ever covered. All of this started over Legos, and is now at a point where Reckless Bin, the guy who was really investigating it and blew the lid off of this, spilled the beans, has now been targeted more times than Cobra Commander by the local police department out there in Utah that is seemingly working in collaboration with Bricks and Minifigs. Part 2 of Reckless Bin's investigation just dropped, and he and his whole group get arrested. He has been targeted multiple times by the police getting arrested, and there is evidence presented on camera that seems to indicate that the police are knowingly engaging in what I think is pretty clearly some barnacles. Not to get into the technical terms there, that's some legalese for you, some barnacles, in order to have him silenced because of what he's talking about. And there are some deep-rooted potential connections between Bricks and Minifigs and this local police department that is now, for some reason, going scorched earth on Ben and his entire team. It is absolutely fucking absurd. Arasaka from Cyberpunk is a less corrupt, less evil organization than Bricks and Minifigs, it seems. It's unbelievable. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll give you like the briefest rundown before getting into part 2 here, because this is wild. They literally come in guns blazing on Ben and his team, by the way. Not to get into spoilers. But this all started because I had a voice crack. That's how extreme this is. It's affecting my vocal folds even yapping about it. Ben had been investigating a case of some potentially stolen Legos from Bricks and Minifigs. What happened is an individual named Brian took his father's Lego collection that his father had built up over years of his life. A very valuable collection valued roughly around $200,000 worth of product. He took it to Bricks and Minifigs to sell it to them on consignment, so that way he could take that money to his father, who was in not the best health, and this money was going to be used for very important things in the family. Well, what ended up happening is, when he took it to that shop, Bricks and Minifigs, the owner was pretty much forced out after they had talked about leaving the country, and then corporate stepped in. This is all backed up by oodles of evidence. There is the whole kit and caboodle of evidence confirming this timeline, not the Bricks and Minifigs response of just actual gobbledygook that they keep trying to spit out. And when that owner was forced out and corporate took over, they put up a big stink crossing their arms and refused to give Brian his Lego collection back, which is still his collection. By the very contract that was signed, it is still his collection, but they then said, oh, we don't do consignment. We wipe our asshole with that. We wipe our dirty little ass with consignment papers. That's toilet paper to us. So get out of here. Kick rocks, pussy. So not only could Brian not get his Lego collection back from Bricks and Minifigs, but they didn't pay for it, and they were even marketing it and selling this Lego collection, a collection that they had no legal right to, considering, according to them, they don't even do consignment in the first place. Thus, how could they possibly have this collection? It's not theirs to even be selling. So by all possible interpretations, that sounds like stolen product that they are selling to their customers. So this was a huge investigation from Ben into this corruption. It was unbelievable. I highly recommend you watch his coverage of it. And since then, they keep singing a different tune, like, consignment, we don't do that. But then the previous owners came forward showing that as part of their agreement, they do actually sign off on consignment. It is there in plain English that they do accept consignment opportunities given some circumstances. So that's a lie from Bricks and Minifigs, it seems. And they are on camera saying to the previous owner, when you guys leave, when we take over, we are also taking on the consignment liability. All of this is right there out in the open, yet they still refuse to give Brian his father's Lego collection back, and they refuse to pay him for that collection that they have already been selling. How is that not stolen property? So anyway, part 2 has now come out, and again, at the end of part 1, Ben did successfully sue Bricks and Minifigs in small claims court. But in response to that victory, they just shut down the location in order to weasel out of having to pay that. They lost, and now, instead of being held accountable and actually paying what they owe, they shut down the shop. So Reckless Ben in part 2 is now trying to serve the papers for the next lawsuit here. They won in court. He is going through the legal process, which is what in Bricks and Minifigs' official response said Ben needed to do, and he has already done that, and they have fought him tooth and nail, and they are now exploiting the legal system to try and silence him, allegedly, based on all of the evidence here. It's fucking terrifying, because in part 2, you're going to see they are using the law like it's their dick. Like they are playing with it constantly. Bricks and Minifigs, that is. And the officers are more than happy to just swallow all of this come from them. They go out there and just start guzzling. They are there and harassing Ben and his team, threatening them constantly, and they do arrest them multiple times. They even go in with guns blazing to his fucking house and dislocate his shoulder, roughhousing him outside, even though no one put up any kind of fight. It's crazy. Let's get into it.
So, I started to file my lawsuit. But right after I filed this court case, it got rejected. And the reason was, I failed to demonstrate a good faith effort to resolve the dispute prior to filing.
Basically, before this court case can get approved, I have to at least attempt to settle with Josh outside of court first.
I tried calling Josh, but I'm blocked.
I'm sorry.
Oh man. Basically, if Josh wants to save the day, I got him a trophy that says, Joshua Johnson saved the day. And we'll give him this trophy, but he has to give the Legos back first.
So, we started driving to Josh's house.
I had never heard of that, so in order to file this lawsuit, he needed to play in the pig pen with Josh for a little bit here to demonstrate that he tried in good faith to resolve it amicably. So, that's exactly what Ben tried to do. He drove out to Josh in order to meet him in person to try and just squash the beef right then and there and get the Legos back so that way it didn't have to go through the legal system here with this lawsuit. Ben has been doing everything above board based on everything that I've seen here. Again, I'm not a fucking lawyer, but it is telling him what he needs to do legally, and he is doing it. Yeah, he's kind of being a little silly about it, like with the trophy, But I mean, that's exactly what Josh deserves. He deserves to be treated like a fucking temper tantrum riddled child. That's what Josh is. We've heard him on the phone fucking melting down, crashing out, freaking out, sucking his thumb, farting his butt off. Like, this guy super sucks. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with delivering him a little, cheeky trophy about like, oh, he saved the day. Look, you finally did it, Josh. In order to avoid the lawsuit, if Josh is willing to do that. But guess what? Josh isn't that much of a man. He's a little bitch.
This happened.
Dude, the police just showed up. What the heck? Why are the police at his house?
Oh, there's another one, dude. 2 cop cars.
My name's Oscar. This is Maricourt Police. The reason I stopped you is the stop sign. You didn't stop that.
I didn't? I thought I stopped.
Yeah, you definitely stopped. You said you ran a stop sign?
Huh?
You said you ran a stop sign?
I didn't see what happened.
Yeah, I was like...
Because we definitely stopped at the stop sign.
Stopped.
Yeah.
I was so sure that we stopped at the stop sign that I actually requested all the police footage of this. And as you can see, we didn't even do a rolling stop. We fully stopped at the stop sign. So this is an illegal traffic stop.
Yeah, the corruption kicks off immediately upon Ben even entering the zone here. He's in the fucking PvP-enabled zone now. So Ben gets in the server, and Josh was alerted to it, potentially, from some of the other Bricks and Minifigs associates that knew that Ben was there. So, as they're going to try and, have this peaceful conversation with Josh about this whole thing, as he is required to do by law, as the first steps before filing a lawsuit, Josh has already alerted the police there. So Josh already hunkers down, surrounded by his own private military force here with the Utah Police Department that's protecting him, and they decide to initiate what seems to be an illegal traffic stop here on Ben, saying that he didn't stop at the stop sign, but he requested the footage from the cops on the dash cam. You can see them stop. They stopped. I think it's pretty obvious they were just looking for an excuse to stop them and intimidate them.
So who's Ben?
Me?
Ben? How's Utah?
It's good.
Like it?
We were forced to go home without having this good faith conversation the court requires us to have.
Pretty cool officer. He thinks he's in an action movie or something. Hey, Ben, how's Utah, bud? I don't know why he's acting like that. That's so cringe. But anyway, Ben then explains the reason for being there. He then goes back to the car, and this is all on body cam. He says, give me the ID for Reckless Ben. Everything else he said was a lie. Even though Ben was telling him the true story, they just immediately write it off as a lie, showing pretty clearly that they are already against Ben and his team, trying to get justice for an old man who has been butt-fucked by this massive corporation, and they are trying to do it legally through the legal system that is instructing them to go there and have that conversation with Josh peacefully, but they're not letting him do that, so they had to go home empty-handed because, well, the police weren't going to allow that to happen.
I actually remembered that there's another owner of the store named Brandon Best. Brandon is the guy in the security camera footage that illegally kicked the first owner out of the store so he could steal all their Legos. I tried calling him, but I am also blocked.
I'm sorry.
The only option left is to show up to his house.
Hello. Hey, how's it going? Hello?
So with that now being a dead end, that quest has failed. He still has to demonstrate to the court that in good faith he had a conversation to try and solve it peacefully. So instead, he is now going to one of the other owners, Brandon Best. And Brandon actually does answer the door, but Brandon seems to be in a fugue state. This guy comes out there like he's fucking possessed. I don't even think he knows what planet he's on. Brandon comes out there like he's confused on what year it is.
Hey, well, I was wondering if you'd be down to pay us for the lawsuit that we won.
It kind of seems like Brandon doesn't want to have this good faith conversation to resolve this problem outside of court. And I gave him plenty of time to speak.
I guess if you don't want to talk, I'll just talk. So you guys told us to take you to court. We went to court and we won. We know you closed down the store to avoid paying us, so we could just sue you guys personally and do the whole thing again. We would obviously win again, but
then the police showed up.
This boggles my mind. So Brandon is swaying over there like a fucking drunken zombie, refusing to say any words at all. He's gone catatonic, and he is still, his company, they've still not paid the lawsuit that they lost. How is that allowed? How is that not a crime against them? How can Ben win this case legally? It's in the system. This isn't like, far-fetched, like nonsense. It's a real legitimate case they won, and they're just not giving the payment that they are supposed to? I just don't know how that's not illegal. So the police do show up. They're immediately on Brandon's side, going after Ben about how Ben's lying about everything, even though it is all in the system. He won. Why is it? How can they just say, like, nah, we don't feel like paying. In fact, we'll just shut down the store, so how's that taste? This is what we'll pay you with. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. How is that not immediately a crime that they are just dodging this, the responsibility to pay what they are supposed to? They lost. What the fuck kind of sense does this make? How is that allowed? What kind of fucking legal system do they have over there in Utah?
And again, for some reason, they are really trying to protect these criminals.
He didn't steal anything. He inherited the store from somebody
No,
else.
he stole $200,000
How do you know this?
because I've been spending the last 3 months in the case, and I won in court.
He inherited the store.
Uh-huh.
He's being blamed for everything that the previous owner did, and he's trying to...
Well, that's a lie. So we...
Okay, hold on. I'm still
okay,
talking.
I'm sorry.
The police officers are like brainwashed by Bricks and Minifigs. Are they just all in like Bricks and Minifigs' pockets or something? This makes no sense. Why is she now regurgitating their lies? She doesn't even know what the fuck is going on, so why is she saying it as if she's coming at it from a place of like knowledge on the case? She has no clue. So why is she taking him at his word instead of Ben, who literally has a court victory confirming his side of things? Bricks and Minifigs has nothing. They have nothing. They have their lies. They have their incorrect accounts of things. Ben has actual evidence and proof. So why are the police on Brandon's side? Why? And why is she saying verbatim what they keep saying? This is very odd. Very, very peculiar.
A lie, and we already proved this in court.
If
Okay.
you come back and step foot on this property, you're going to go to jail.
The police gave me a formal trespass notice, which I took a picture of it and sent it to the court as proof I tried to have this good faith conversation, but Brandon didn't want to have it with me. And turns out this was good enough. My court case with Brandon Best got accepted. But my court case with Josh is still going to be rejected until I find a way to have this good faith conversation with him.
So there we go. One of the fetch quests have been completed here. He tried to have the conversation with Brandon. He got trespassed for it, submitted it, they accepted it, but he now still has to try and find a way to do it with Josh.
After some more research, we found out that both Josh and Brandon are super hardcore Mormon.
This becomes extremely relevant information later on as a possible connection between the Bricks and Minifigs goobers here that we are dealing with, as well as the law enforcement, because some of the local law enforcement officers that are constantly trying to have Ben and his team arrested, and actually do get them arrested, actually put them in cuffs and everything, they are also hardcore Mormons from all of the evidence Ben presents. So is there a chance that they were just trying to protect their own, even knowing that he is doing something highly immoral and possibly very much allegedly, potentially criminal, illegal? Anyway, as Ben is leaving, he and his team are pulled over again by the officers, who are now initiating another traffic stop, and it became pretty clear what the tactic that was being used here from Josh and Brandon was. Since Ben had told Brandon that he is now suing them personally, he's going to go after them personally, it seems like they are desperately trying to find any excuse to have them thrown in the slammer to avoid that. So now we are going to get really familiar with the police department, because they've got them on the leash. Bricks and Minifigs, the puppet master out there, it seems, because they are using the police department willy-nilly out the wazoo, constantly sending them like dogs after Ben and his team. Even though Ben and his team are doing everything legally by the book, as they are supposed to do, as Bricks and Minifigs said they needed to do, by the way. Now they're doing it legally and being fucking stalked, basically, by the police department, wielded by Brandon and Josh.
So
Yeah, we ended up just driving home, but on our way back, this happened.
What? Pulled over again? For what? How's it going?
How's it going? I'm Officer Hawkins, American Fort Police Department. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. Well, what's your name? Are you Ben?
The police apparently got a call that we had heroin on us.
This officer is going to conduct a search of your person because there are illegal substances in the vehicle. Really? So he's going to do that. I'm going to put this away, and then we'll be right. Don't reach in your pockets. Okay? Sounds good. Thank you.
After 2 hours of searching the car, obviously they found no drugs.
So he didn't find.
I explained to the police that we didn't have drugs, and the reality of the situation is that Bricks and Minifigs is so desperate at this point that they're willing to do anything to get us arrested so they don't have to pay for the property they stole.
Yeah, that's pretty low. These fucking scumbags are now resorting to falsifying these reports to officers. They are maliciously relaying fraudulent information to the officers to try and have Ben and his team arrested. So now Brandon/Josh here is saying that they had heroin in their car, so the police pulled them over and searched for drugs, and of course they didn't find anything. And interestingly enough, this appears to be part of a pattern from Josh Johnson. This seems to be one of his go-to tactics. According to one of the previous owners of the Bricks and Minifigs, where all this started, the Patient Zero, when they were kicked out, when corporate swooped in and, excommunicated them from the Continental, Josh Johnson had apparently been spreading rumors telling people that they, the previous owners, were selling heroin. So Josh really seems to like that lie about, a person I don't like and I want to have arrested. Oh yeah, they have heroin. Oh yeah, they're selling heroin. Apparently this seems to be something he does pretty often. Why is that not a crime? It is a crime, but why is he not being arrested for it? They've now gone through the search. They found nothing. We now know that he was wrong. And we now see that, at least according to one other source here, he has done this at least twice on purpose. That's a crime. Can we get him, maybe held accountable for that shit? It's kind of ridiculous.
They were still not going to let us go until we told them where the drugs were.
Your eyes, for example, right? There's a constriction, which is dilated, and then
Do you notice it?
So I haven't been looking at this. I'll show him. Go ahead and look at him.
Oh, look at you?
Yep.
You do see it?
So
It's crazy. I have no idea, because I've never done any drugs in my life. I don't do drugs. I don't do alcohol. I've never done any of that in my life. I'm willing to do any drug tests.
Yeah.
Like, I'm very cooperative. I don't understand, what you're seeing in my eyes.
I'm gonna have a discussion with this officer.
Oh, they're really scraping the bottom of the barrel here. They're really trying to alt. Oh, it's your eyes. Your eyes. You have heroin eyes. I can see the heroin in your eyes, Buster. But this, hats off to this guy for remaining so calm. He's like, okay, do you see it? This fucking fairy tale. You see it? Hey, look, I'll do any drug test. Let's rip it. And then the officer's like, give me a moment. Give me a second.
And then the police department illegally redacted this conversation too. My guess is that they acknowledged that it's very obvious we don't have drugs on us, but they were going to try and pressure us into giving some type of false confession anyways.
I'm not sure if you're lying to me or not, to be honest.
I'm willing to take any drug test you want.
I'm walking a very dangerous line, which can get you hemmed up a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And you could end up in jail in Utah when you're from Cali.
Okay.
Not worth it, right?
Yeah.
We play differently here. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'm willing to cooperate with you guys and do anything you want me to, because I'm not hiding anything. I can promise you that. I promise.
We weren't giving the police a false confession like they wanted, so eventually I guess they just got tired and let us go.
Oh my god, I love that from the officer. You're walking a real dangerous line here, mister. What, the dangerous line being cooperative? What dangerous line is he walking? He's telling you he will do whatever drug test you want, and you're like, oh, you better be very, very careful saying shit like that. I'm about to take you the fuck down. And then they're even saying we play differently over here. No, it seems like you play stupid. It seems like you play unethical ball, is what it seems like. Because you are being wielded like Josh's personal fleshlight. This is a complete bogus stop here based on false information. Clearly, you know there's no drugs there. There's no probable cause to take it further. Both of these men don't seem to be intoxicated or on any substances at all. It's plain as day. They're being cooperative, and they're still trying to find any excuse to lock them up. under the directions of Josh, most likely. That's what it seems to be. So yeah, I guess they do play by some different rules over there. Some very corrupt rules, seemingly. This is just totally fucking unacceptable. Every officer you see in this video doing shit like this, I think absolutely needs to be fired. And beyond that, needs to be investigated and potentially thrown in jail themselves. Having corrupt officers like this is extremely dangerous to public safety. And there is overwhelming evidence to showcase, at the very least, complete incompetence to the point where that is also dangerous to public safety. It's fucking outrageous.
We'll let you guys go now, but you're walking a thin line. Just be mindful of that. Does that make sense?
Okay. At this point, I've documented everything I've been through to the court, that I've tried to have this good faith conversation with Josh. He just doesn't want to have it with me. And because of everything I went through, my court case finally got approved.
So now we can go to the next steps here. And I know I keep interrupting a lot, but it's just so much to unpack here. So much corruption, it's unreal. All over Legos. And what is very easily provable, bricks and minifigs being in the wrong. Like, it's unbelievable. But like the officers then saying, all right, be mindful. Be mindful of what? Driving and doing nothing wrong? Because that's what they were doing. Be mindful of what? Some psychopath lunatic calling in a false report to have the police scoot in sideways on you? That's completely out of his control. You can't be mindful of that. You have a maniac on the loose over there named Josh.
And attached to this email are court papers to serve Josh. The only problem is Josh is not going to open this door for anyone. So I made this poster that says, "I stole a dying man's life savings," and printed it out. Now I'm placing this poster in a public space right across the street from Josh's house. Yeah, it turns out I have a process server to serve him his court papers. But almost immediately, my sign got blocked.
Oh no, he's blocking our sign.
As you can imagine, this is where it really pops off. So he now has the court papers to serve Josh, but he has to serve Josh. So he gets a process server out there. He tries to get Josh to come outside to, like take down the sign. It is on public property. He is 100% within his right to put that sign there. But once again, protecting Josh, here comes the goof troop. They're now blocking the sign, and they're about to go have some very stern conversations with Ben, and things are going to only continue to escalate.
What are you guys doing here?
So we are in a court case with them, and we have to serve them legal papers.
The police realized that we're not breaking any laws, and they've been called here for a false reason, so they decided to leave. And then we got the police called on us again.
Hello? Yeah, the court requires us to come in person for some reason, so...
Again, the cops realized that we are doing nothing illegal and decided to leave. Now it's time to serve Josh his court papers. But we got the police called on us again.
Hello?
Yep, can I see those papers?
Yeah.
I just don't understand how Josh is allowed to do this. Why is this not punishable? They have come out 3 times now, and they keep recognizing that there is nothing illegal going on here, and Josh keeps calling them out. There is very clearly a deep personal connection here. And you're going to see in a moment, it might be because they are Mormons, and they are, like, very tight-knit here. But Josh is able to just use the circus here, borrow the clowns, and keep sending them at Ben, but they don't have any, like, legal mustard to throw him in jail over. So now, in a last-ditch Hail Mary, he's coming to check the papers to see if the papers are fake, to get him on that. Like, these are fake papers, give me it, you're going to jail, that kind of thing. But he's about to find out they're not fake. He is doing everything lawfully and legally. He has to try and serve these papers. Josh just won't play ball with him. And I guess they all play different ball over there, because now the police are also actively trying to prevent that from happening too. They're standing in the way of justice. They are actively preventing the legal system from working.
He could even just serve the papers for me.
You okay if I give these papers to him?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, just give me 1 minute.
Okay, thank you.
Sadly, we can't see the police officer serve Josh because the police department redacted all of it. But the only thing that really matters is that Josh is getting served.
He does not want the paper. So
He's not want the papers?
here's that back for you.
What a surprise. How is that allowed? Hey, so he's serving you these papers, part of the legal process, an integral part of the legal process. Oh, you don't want them? Oh my God, I'm so sorry to bother you, Josh. Do you want me to fondle your balls, by the way, real quick? Okay, all right, let me do that real quick. Okay, I'm gonna go take these back over there to Ben now, all right? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bother you. I understand you don't want them. I'm sorry. I'll just go ahead and continue to impede the legal system. Thank you so much, Josh. I love you, brother. Group hug in the shower tonight? Thoughts? All right, sorry. I'll go ahead and scram. Let me go ahead and bring these back over there to ensure that they don't get served to you as is lawfully required by the legal system. Have a good day, Josh.
Papers.
Not sure what this is. I've never seen something like that. It doesn't look good when you've been trespassed.
Yeah.
Trying to serve papers.
Well, I think it looks exactly how we're supposed to do it legally. This is the legal way to do it.
I always thought that the police were supposed to remain unbiased, and if they were going to take a side, they definitely shouldn't take the side of the criminal. But I guess I was wrong. We got the police called on us again.
Oh, sure. The
For
paper?
what?
The serving paper?
Yeah.
Trying to speak with someone to verify if a case is, just verify if a case is real.
Yeah, looks like a real small claims case in our court.
Okay, thank you for your help. That's all. Thank you.
So after bringing the papers back, after refusing to serve it to Josh because he said, nuh-uh, the officer then gets like really accusatory with him, saying, this is bogus paper, this is stupid paper, you got dumb paper, watch out, bud. And then they leave. Then the cops get called on him again. This time he directly takes the papers because he's going to try and find out if they're real or not definitively. He definitively gets a hard, yes, those are real, it is legitimate, and you would think at that point it'd be smooth sailing, like, okay, this is all real. Everything Ben's saying seems to be truthful. That's not how this goes.
I think this phone call was the breaking point for the police.
Oh, he's rubbing his chin.
The police couldn't handle the fact that I was right and they were wrong.
Okay.
Okay, we'll try and find you back.
Am I being arrested?
You're under arrest right now.
Really?
I was confused on what I was being arrested for. I mean, the same police officers that arrested me gave me permission to do exactly what I was doing.
You can film from the sidewalk wherever it's public, right? But you can't go on that property. If you do, you'll be charged, okay?
Okay, yeah, for sure.
I got arrested for just doing what the police told me to do.
Not only doing what the police told him to do, by the way, what the legal system instructs him to do. He has to serve those fucking papers. He won in small claims court. They didn't pay. Now he's suing them personally, and to do that, as he has already been accepted and did everything by the legal process, has to serve the next phase of papers, and the cops have come out fucking 4 times. The goof troop keeps rolling in here, and now after they have gotten definitive proof that this is all real and Ben is telling the truth, they then just arrest him for it. Oh, you've got some nerve coming around Utah telling the truth, Ben. Like, what the fuck is this? This is actual insanity. So that's where the potential connection comes into play. So all the officers are apparently pretty hardcore Mormons, as well as our main assholes here from Bricks and Minifigs. So that would explain why these officers are so cooperative with Josh in particular, even though they keep getting routine calls out there for nothing. And even though they definitely got a false report and acted on fraudulent information and still keep doing it for Josh, it seems. So I think that's probably correct. I think Brian's right. I think it is because they are all part of this Mormon community that is just looking to protect each other. So instead of holding someone accountable like Josh, who is engaging very clearly in some extremely immoral shit and potentially criminal shit, potentially he's doing a lot of heavy lifting there. I think there is overwhelming evidence to suggest there is definitely something very fishy afoot at the very least, and still refusing to give back those Legos to Brian, which, again, by his own company's admission, they shouldn't even have in the first place if they don't do consignment. Thus, they have no legal right to that inventory, and they are selling what is, by textbook definition, stolen property. All of this is something not even being considered by the law enforcement, despite Brian proving in court winning his case that he is the one being truthful, that his account of things is accurate, that the evidence is on Brian's side, not Bricks and Minifig's side. No matter what, though, it doesn't matter to the police department here, it seems, because they'd rather just protect Josh because they're Mormons. That appears to be what's going on. That's the only possible explanation for why they're going so hard against Ben, and this isn't even the hardest they go. He gets arrested here, and he does get out on bail. He gets arrested off absolute nothingness, just complete fucking barnacles, and they still aren't done with him. They still aren't finished with him. They are actually trying to just ruin his life and throw him in jail forever for the crime of reporting the truth and trying to get justice. He is going through all of the proper legal channels, doing it the right way, and even following all of the orders from the police and still getting this unfair treatment. So yeah, it probably is because they are in this tight-knit community here, and they just want to keep protecting each other instead of holding them accountable, like Josh or Brandon or something. And it's fucking gross. So they are putting that above their duty of protecting the public and enforcing the law and getting the bad guys in jail. Instead, they're getting the good guys thrown in jail here.
Out of jail now?
And this is when it really hit me that the justice system has decided to protect these criminals. So now there's really only one way I can think of to get this family the money back that got stolen from them, which is a GoFundMe. Time to promote it, to start getting donations. We printed out the GoFundMe's picture to hang it up so we could get a nice Instagram video to post to social media. But before the group could even hang the picture up, the police came.
What you guys up to?
Bro, the fucking police department must be headquartered in Josh's house or something. Like, holy shit. He must have like an underground facility of just these clone troopers from the Utah Police Department. They are just spawn camping. They literally live in fucking Josh's house, I guess, just for the sole purpose of trying to arrest Ben and his team for trying to get justice.
We're starting to GoFundMe.
Yeah.
What we're doing is we're going to get a bunch of publicity to get basically all this money back for this family.
Into some defamation stuff.
Again, the police were thinking of any technicality they could think of to protect their Mormon friend.
Look at your stalking code. See if it's that. If it's not, we're going to look at disorderly. If it's not disorderly, then we're going to look at the city ordinance.
But after going through every law they could think of, it turns out that hanging this sign on a fence and then taking a picture of it for Instagram is not illegal. In fact, what the group is doing is actually protected under the First Amendment, freedom of speech. So one of the police officers let the group know that they were okay to keep doing this.
Right now, I don't think you guys break the law.
But this other police officer wasn't able to accept this reality.
We're going to take it down.
I love that. One officer's like, alright, so you guys aren't breaking the law, and the other guy's like, dagnabbit! And takes it down and throws it in the cruiser. So you can see them literally salivating and trying to really grasp at straws for any possible way of perverting the law to suit their puppet master's instructions, allegedly, to have them arrested. So they are doing everything they can to find some way, some excuse to arrest them, even though what they're doing isn't illegal. And the officers even said that on his body cam, by the way.
I can actually hear what they're saying here.
He sees it or give back? Is it an occasional crime? Is it disorderly conduct? Why? Is he upset about it? I mean, I guess, but that's not...
Yeah, this police officer is right. Just because this might make Josh upset does not make this poster illegal. So I decided to let the police department know that some of the redactions they made aren't exactly what they're claiming they are.
Redaction was.
Okay, well, that didn't happen.
That definitely didn't happen.
No, I don't do that, Ben. I follow the Utah State Code, like I just said.
Right here, the police are actually admitting to themselves that none of this is illegal, but they're still going to try to arrest us anyways. It seems like the only reason they're getting rid of this audio is to protect the police officers from getting fired. I don't know what the police officers are saying in this next clip, but I'm pretty sure they're scheming up a way to get the group arrested, because this is what happens next.
And Lieutenant Adamson can correct me if I'm wrong, but we're going to seize your phone right now.
Do not do that. You understand me? Right now you're attempting to destroy evidence. Okay? Put your hands behind your back.
So Ben was able to sync up some of the redactions here and actually find some of what they were saying, and it does appear that they are saying, like, yeah, not really a crime, but then they still do find a way to weasel out some kind of excuse for an arrest, and that's exactly what they do. So And he also reports it, by the way, and the lady says, that didn't happen. Nope, we don't do that, Ben. I don't do that. Didn't happen. Even though you can watch and hear it, but whatever, I guess. So yeah, now they start arresting him, and as he's giving him his phone, he goes to lock it, and Officer Goofball here, in his tactical glasses, hits him with a, "Don't do that." I thought he was about to draw his weapon on him. All because the guy had the gall to try and lock his phone. Which is like a normal habit, by the way. Anytime I see my phone's unlocked, I lock it too. Every human being on the planet does. So, just going to lock his phone, super normal. That's not destroying evidence. Also, they don't have any legal ground to stand on for how that could be destroying evidence. They don't even have a warrant to search it or anything. So he did nothing wrong, but the officer instantly springs into like combat mode there over it.
I was just locking my phone.
Okay, I'm going to switch over to the police officer's body cam POV so we can dissect what just happened. First, the police officer asks if he can confiscate Sheldon's phone, so Sheldon says, okay, and reaches in his pocket to give it to him. But at this point, Sheldon sees that his phone is unlocked, and at this moment, he decided that before giving it to the police officer, he was going to lock his phone, which is totally legal. There's no search warrant, so Sheldon is legally allowed to lock his phone. But as the police officer saw Sheldon's thumb moving towards that lock button, he snatched it out of his hands. And now the police officer's claiming that because he tried to lock his phone, he's destroying evidence.
Silence.
Yeah, I was giving it to you.
Stop talking.
I was
Stop
giving
talking,
it to you.
Okay?
Let him have the phone. I wasn't trying to delete anything. In fact, it is actually impossible to delete something from an iPhone from a locked screen by hitting the power button. So in no context could I have been trying to erase something by hitting one button on my phone. Now I'm sure you have a phone as well. When you hit the power button, that doesn't delete anything, does it?
I imagine it wouldn't, yeah.
Yes, that's all I did.
Another arrest in the books for these fucking corrupt weenies over there. This is outrageous. So now he has to defend himself about like the claims of destroying or obstructing evidence for locking his phone, which, again, everyone does that, and he's legally within his right to do so. They don't have a search warrant for it. But they're trying to bully him. They're trying to scare him. That has been their tactics this entire time. But they don't have anything on him, yet here he is, arrested for nothing. Even though, on body cam, we can even see them say, not really breaking any laws. So why is he here? Food for thought. That's a little interesting, huh?
I literally couldn't have imagined a worse ending for this video, but I had no clue that it was about to get way worse.
American Park Police Department, make yourself known.
Search warrant. Stand up. Step outside, everybody. Come on.
No. Don't move like that. You understand me? Don't move like that. Okay?
Yeah, this cop pulled my arm so far back, it dislocated my shoulder. He claims it's because I was attempting to make an escape or something.
Don't move like that. You understand me? Don't move like that. Don't move quick. Everybody just chill.
But if we go back a little bit, you can see I was being completely still when he grabbed me, and I actually made 0 quick movements. So this police officer is just straight up lying so he can give me a serious injury.
Included in the warrant are Legos.
And this is where it really, really, really gets unhinged. They come in with the guns drawn on the house. They fucking raid it based on a complete bogus search warrant where now the Bricks and Minifigs guys are trying to claim, oh, Ben stole the Legos. And the judge signed off on this search warrant here. So now they go and they arrest everyone in that house. And Ben in particular, they rough up. They dislocate his shoulder and claim that he was threatening to run, that he was giving them an indication he was about to flee. But the body cam betrays that lie because you can see he's not. He's just standing there, and they just wanted to fuck him up because they could. This is so ridiculous. This should be huge outrage across Utah. Like, this is your law enforcement doing this, by the way. And these are your tax dollars being used to do shit like this. Being misused by people like the Bricks and Minifigs goobers like Josh and Brandon. You should be upset. Anyone should see this and be extremely concerned and alarmed. Again, Every officer that we're seeing here should 100% lose their jobs for this. It is corruption in broad daylight. This is just bare naked corruption. There are corporate ghouls that are weaponizing your local law enforcement for their own personal gain. They are using it as their own tool to turn it against you, the civilians. They're using it against Ben and his friends because they are hurting their feelings and exposing their very shady, very immoral actions based on all available evidence, and they don't like that. So now they are just completely shitting all over their rights as American citizens, the First Amendment most notably. It should concern you. If there is a level of wealth that can be accumulated by people like Josh and Brandon that can let them just tap into the police resources and use it against individuals they don't like, that should keep you up at night and have you concerned. That is a huge fucking problem, because that seems to be what's going on here based on all the evidence I'm seeing. Ben and his team had followed the law to a T. Yes, they got a little wacky with some of the ways they went about it, but there's nothing wrong with doing that. Again, that's protected. They did everything lawfully based on everything I can see here, and every step of the way, the police department was working to impede them in that journey for justice. It's fucking scary.
Yes. The police department got an official warrant to search our house for stolen Legos. I should have seen this coming. Josh did threaten me in the last video that if I go out and actually try to sue him, he's gonna come out and say that I'm the one that stole the Legos.
Okay, let's do it.
Fuck you, man. You stole them, bitch.
I stole the Legos?
Yeah, you're a fucking thief.
Dang.
Okay?
Okay.
You can shut the fuck up. That's your fucking choice.
Again, there's recorded evidence that this is also false. Josh even made that threat in the previous video. If you come after me, I'll tell them you stole the Legos, bitch. Why is Josh not in handcuffs? This is clearly fraudulent. He is wasting police resources. Why is Josh immune to it? Very odd. Isn't that strange?
I got taken to an interrogation room so they could find some reason to lock me up for good.
Ben, I'm Detective Nikosha.
Last time, I was able to get released on bail. But this time, they're requesting that I be held in jail a month until my court date. But there's honestly nothing for me to hide, so I went through the entire story with them to show the detective that this whole thing is just a big misunderstanding.
This is where my heart broke for Ben. So, they already got him on some bullshit before he was out on bail. They got him again now on more bullshit, extreme bullshit, and now they're looking to deny bail and hold him for a month. And Ben was under the belief that because he's done nothing wrong, the system will protect him, and that he shouldn't be afraid to tell officers the truth because the truth and the evidence is on his side. That's just not the reality. And that's not even exclusive to the Utah Police Department. One of the most important pieces of advice experts give, and this actually includes some police officers as well, is do not talk to the police without a lawyer present. Let the lawyer be the one to mediate and talk with the police for you. Because in a situation like this, the police are not there to help you. They're there to fuck you. They are looking for, in Ben's case here, an excuse to hold him for that month. And Ben, knowing that he's done nothing wrong and can prove that everything he's done is legal by the book and lawful, was under the belief that, well, I've got nothing to hide. I'll go ahead and tell them everything. So that way, they'll be on my side. But that was just never in the cards. So when he started talking to them without a lawyer there, he did unfortunately give them a little ammunition that they could use to hold him for that month. He mentioned the GoFundMe.
Video. For a family if they got all their stuff stolen. I should be risking nothing by admitting this.
Basically, the police told me, do not take this man to court, or else he will get arrested. And so I was like, just thinking, and we're like, let's do a GoFundMe, you know? And that was their solution.
But I was wrong.
We're going to book you back into the jail, okay? The creation of the GoFundMe, right? We're blasting this person all over saying, hey, he's...
So creating the GoFundMe was illegal?
When I asked the detective how creating a GoFundMe was probable cause to send me to jail, this was his response.
A lot of this stuff you may have to just get an attorney and fight it in the criminal side of court, right?
Okay, should I
Yep.
go back?
Yeah, go ahead and stand up. I got an officer right here that's he has cuffs for you.
Yeah, it's that stupid. So they were very interested in the GoFundMe angle. They found some way of making that a big piece of this. So they interviewed the other people that they arrested here from Ben's team, and they were pretty focused on the GoFundMe stuff. So when Ben mentioned the GoFundMe, the officer probably had a huge fucking smile on his face and a wet spot in his trousers, because now somehow they're able to use that to justify holding Ben for a month in jail. It's fucking scary. That's frightening, man.
Completely blind to what I'm even being charged for. The worst part is that the police officers took away my bail, so now I have to wait a month in jail. However, I ended up getting extremely lucky. When a judge ended up reviewing this arrest, they thought the whole thing was so stupid and ended up releasing me on bail. So now, at least I'm a free man until my court case.
Ben got extremely lucky that a judge reviewed it and came to the rational conclusion that this is absurd, it's fucking preposterous, so he did get to get out and prepare for the upcoming lawsuit and his court date and all of that. But then he was informed that there is an arrest warrant out for him. So, according to Ben, and based on everything we've seen so far, it sounds like Bricks and Minifigs has once again cooked up more lies about Ben, about how he's this big threat. They even alluded to him being like a physical threat to the Bricks and Minifigs guys throughout this video. So he's this huge threat. He's out of control. He's on the loose. So now they have an arrest warrant out for him, which was actually signed off by a judge.
The only thing the police department could tell me is that I do have a warrant, but this time the judge approved it that I will have no bail. And I am now a physical threat to Josh, the person the police are protecting. So basically, at any moment now, I could be arrested without bail for some mystery crime. There really is only one thing that I can do now.
Well, I'm in Mexico now.
It's fucking lunacy, man. People that have active stalkers that are literally a threat to their physical safety don't get this kind of treatment from the police. Actual degenerate, deranged, delusional criminals that are actually threatening the safety of innocent people don't get treated like Ben has been by the authorities. So now he has an arrest warrant out, non-bailable. So in a panic, he goes to Mexico. I mean, I can't even blame him. I genuinely can't even blame him for that. It's a complete mystery crime. Again, what they're even pursuing against him. This is so absurd. Again, this all started over Legos, but this has really revealed that Bricks and Minifigs is just a completely rotten company filled with actual maniacs, genuine menaces. These are psychopaths. They are trying to have Ben arrested, ruin his life, throw him in jail over nothing because he's trying to get an old man his extremely valuable Lego collection back that they don't even have the right to in the first place by their own admission, because according to them, they don't do consignment, even though their contracts do say they do consignment. But regardless, if they don't do consignment, then they shouldn't have the inventory. Thus, they can't be selling the inventory because it would be stolen product, but they've already sold the inventory and they haven't paid for it. They haven't given Brian and his father what they're owed, and they're not giving the Legos back, even though he keeps requesting the Legos back. They refuse. And he has gone through everything lawfully. He has done everything as the law allows and permits and actually instructs him to do. He's followed every police order to a T, and still his life is in jeopardy here at the hands of Bricks and Minifigs and this corrupt police department and these officers. It's fucking infuriating. This is a huge deal. Now, I don't see what the fuck was wrong with the GoFundMe. I don't see why that was an issue, and I guess it's still a mystery because they haven't really said, but I'll put a link to all of that in the description here, obviously. It is so unreal how deep this goes. Hats off to Ben and his team for continuing to fight for justice here against a corporation of this size and this level of maliciousness. Holy shit. Anyway, that's $2.5 decillion. That is probably a number you didn't even think existed. That's more than a gazillion dollars. That's more than a more billion dollars. This is an unfathomable number they are being sued for by Russia. To help put it in perspective, here's Decillion compared to others that you've heard before, such as 1,000, million, billion, or even trillion. And you can see trillion's not even halfway there. It doesn't even make a dent. It's estimated that the entire global GDP is 100 trillion, which is like 0.0000001% of what Google is being sued for by Russia. To put it in even more simple terms, 2.5 decillion is almost as many pounds as your mother weighs. It is crazy what they are trying to achieve with this lawsuit here. Shooting for the stars doesn't even cover it. You couldn't sell the Earth for $2.5 decillion to aliens. It's not even worth that much. If you took every dollar, every form of currency ever made throughout the history of our species, it wouldn't even come close to 1 decillion. I cannot stress enough just how absurd this number is. Like, Dr. Evil wouldn't even go for this. This is so far into the realm of lunacy that I don't think there's a single made-up villain who would even try this. At this point, it'd be like a fucking Phineas and Ferb character suing for infinity money. The lawsuit is over YouTube banning Russian media networks. Like, they banned a ton of Russian accounts and accounts associated with, like, the Kremlin and all of that. And the fine arises from Google's failure to comply with previous court orders mandating the reinstatement of these Russian media accounts on YouTube. The court warned Google that non-compliance would lead to compounding fines with no ceiling on the amount, starting at 100,000 rubles daily, and the fines doubling every week until the channels are restored. This is what it feels like to play Magic the Gathering with someone doing doubling season token shenanigans. Like, this is just fucking stupid. The fines doubling every week? It's like a RuneScape scam. What the fuck? What in tarnation? So, fundamentally, YouTube had banned a lot of Russian media accounts and accounts associated with the Kremlin and all of that. And Google has repeatedly cited sanctions compliance as the justification for suspending content from the channels, including high-profile networks like Sargrad TV and RIA Fan. They argued that the media entities involved were under U.S. sanctions imposed in response to Russia's geopolitical actions since 2014. So fundamentally, Google is saying, hey, we had to do this because of these issues and these sanctions. Then in 2022, following the invasion of Ukraine, the subsidiary of Google that was operating in the region declared bankruptcy, and Moscow had seized more than $100 million from the entity. According to The Telegraph, Google said Russia handed the assets to sanctioned TV channels including Sargrad, and that they seized more than $100 million of Google Russia's assets, even though the amount purportedly due under the judgment at the time was less than $12.5 million. So this has just been a back and forth butt-fucking for quite some time now between Russia and Google. Now, Google, in its latest earnings statement, said, "We do not believe these ongoing legal matters will have a material adverse effect." To me, that sounds like they're saying, there's a lot of words here, and we're not reading them. They're just going to ignore it. They're not even going to play ball with it for even a second. They're not entertaining the idea of a $2.5 decillion fine. They're just plugging their ears to it. Google has almost entirely ceased operations in Russia already. Like, they've almost fully pulled out from what I can tell. So it seems like they're just going to pretend that, you know, the Tooth Fairy's not real here and just not think about it. So this has been an ongoing battle here between Russia and Google, and this is just the most recent development in the anime. I don't think there's a single world where anyone actually looks at that number and takes it seriously. 2.5 decillion is comically large. There's not even that much sand on the planet. There are 7.5 sextillion grains of sand, and that doesn't even make a dent into 1 decillion. There is nothing on this planet that exists in that quantity, except maybe atoms. I think atoms is like 10 to the power of 50. Now, I can't imagine they're actually stupid enough to think that Google is somehow going to poop this shit out, 2.5 decillion anythings at all. That's impossible. I think this is just like a desperate Hail Mary to get some kind of money from it, like some kind of big fine from all of this. So they're just letting this number be as outrageous as possible. And they are trying to enforce these fines in other regions like South Africa, where they're trying to kind of come at Google from multiple angles, and then Google has been, in response, filing lawsuits to keep everything like localized to Russia. So it's been pretty messy. It has definitely been an interesting journey trying to get caught up on the lore of Google versus Russia. And I just had to dive in with both nuts here because 2.5 decillion, I had never even heard of the word decillion before. I thought that was just a made-up term. And it's not. It's so crazy. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about this a little bit. Of course, I'm just a clueless Neanderthal, so I have no idea if this lawsuit has any real meat behind it, if it holds water at all. I didn't pass the bar, I'm not a lawyer. But from my uneducated perspective, it just sounds so fucking stupid. To be coming at Google for this amount of money over YouTube accounts being banned, I think is ridiculous. It's not like those YouTube accounts were going to generate anywhere near that level of money. Realistically, all of the YouTube accounts put together probably wouldn't have generated anything even close to $100 million, even if they were operational for 100 years. Like, I just don't understand where this number's even coming from. Like, I understand it's like the compounding fines where it doubles every week, but it's just made up, pulled out of their ass arbitrary nonsense. Like, can any YouTuber do that? Like, oh, my YouTube account was unjustly terminated. Google owes me $1,000 per day that it stays down and it's going to double every week. Well, based on what? Why? That's just a classic because I said so moment right there. I just don't see where they're getting this from. Like, why would it be doubling every week? Who made that rule? What referee came in there and threw the flag on the play saying that it needs to be doubled every week that they don't comply? Like, it just doesn't make sense. Those accounts were never going to generate anywhere near that level of money for a daily fine that would double every week. That's just, that would never happen. So how the fuck can they possibly expect Google or any like reasonable judge to look at that and be like, oh no, that sounds about right? Again, I'm pretty sure it's just to be like intimidating and scary to settle for some kind of payment out of court, perhaps. But to me, this just doesn't seem to be like a lawsuit with a ton of punch behind it. Like, it really just doesn't seem like they have the strongest case to be coming at them for this amount of money. Now, it's worth mentioning, just like the end of a Marvel movie, it will return. This ticking time bomb hasn't stopped. It's still going, and it is still actively doubling. So it's 2.5 Decillion now, but this might be the cheapest it'll ever be, because in a month from now, a year from now, we may be looking at new numbers that are going to need to be invented to figure out how much Russia is trying to hit Google for. Anyway, though, I just had to talk about it a little bit because it was so crazy, and I was diving into it pretty deep this afternoon. Interesting lawsuit going on between Activision and Anthony Fantano of The Needle Drop, the internet's busiest music nerd. And it's a real eyebrow raiser, I'll tell you what. For starters, most of these publications refer to Fantano as a TikTok music critic. That's the most disrespectful shit ever. That's like cheerleaders laughing at you right to your face, pulling your pants down. Like, that's so embarrassing to get labeled that. They're spitting on him. Fantano's been on the internet long before TikTok ever even existed as an idea, so I'd have to give those headlines a light too. But anyway, when reading those headlines, what I expected in this story was Activision being 100% in the wrong and bullying a creator because they are a company known for shady, awful, garbage, horrible, horrible things, as well as being unbelievably greedy. So I thought this would be a case of that, them strong-arming a creator and wiping their ass with their face. But after reading through the actual lawsuit and going over the case, it's super weird because Activision is still a supervillain, greedy, evil corporation, but the argument they're making in this lawsuit is actually one that helps normal TikTok users. I want to make it clear right away, I am not a fan of Activision. You certainly won't find me pumping my fist for that company. I am no Activision enthusiast. I am, however, an Anthony Fantano fan. So this was a really weird case because I don't see how Anthony Fantano could possibly argue his side. Melon magic can only go so far, and in this case, I don't think it'll be far enough. And if Anthony Fantano did somehow win, it could open the door to large-scale exploitation of a system a lot of normal TikTok users rely on. And I'll explain what I mean in a moment. And I want to be clear right now, Anthony Fantano has not spoke his piece on the subject yet, probably because it's a very touchy legal matter, so it'd be very difficult to speak on it. So I can only really give you the perspective of what's been laid out so far, and maybe that'll be subject to change as it continues, but basically right now, Anthony Fantano had a very popular meme of him go viral called Enough Slices. It's a meme that's been used endlessly on TikTok. It's become a very popular meme. And Activision recently used it in an advertisement they made for Crash Bandicoot on TikTok. and Anthony Fantano allegedly cease and desisted them, to which they complied and took down the video. But then, according to Activision, Anthony Fantano reached back out and said that they're going to be required to pay a substantial amount of money in damages for using his intellectual property, basically, that meme. And they said, no sir, we're not playing ball here. That's not a game of foosball we're interested in engaging in. So they are countersuing Anthony Fantano and looking for a declaratory ruling that states that he will no longer be allowed to try and get money out of users or companies that use his meme clip, because they say that Enough Slices meme was knowingly entered into the commercial sounds library on TikTok. Now, most of you have probably already activated your super sniffer and smelled a little something fishy here, because there is a big difference between a normal TikTok user, fucking Cliff Blast Cleaver, using Anthony Fantano's Enough Slices meme for a goofy little TikTok he made, and a company like Activision using a meme he made to sell a product. They're very different. It wouldn't be unheard of to be okay with a normal person using your meme and not being okay when it's a company using it to sell a product that you don't agree with and you don't like. And that's a fundamental right that you have, that your likeness can't just be manipulated and used to mislead consumers or something into believing that you support a product that you don't. And this is what makes the case really interesting, because in here, what they used was a meme from Anthony Fantano that they are arguing was opted into a program called the Commercial Sound Library, and in the Commercial Sound Library's terms, it very clearly states that when you opt in here, when it is part of this directory, that it is completely fair game for companies, brands, advertising partners, and normal users to use for any and all purposes whatsoever, which does include paid content and advertisements. Now, since the ad was deleted, I'm unsure if they used Anthony Fantano's actual video clip that has his face in it, or if it was just the audio. I'm really not sure. But even still, the meme itself was uploaded, apparently, to this Commercial Sounds library, so Activision's argument is that he can't just selectively enforce who is and who isn't allowed to use that meme, because it has been uploaded to the Commercial Sounds library, allegedly. He can't just revoke permission for people that he doesn't like or brands that he doesn't support. That's the core of their argument. They're also claiming that this is overt gamesmanship, a nefarious money-making scheme from Fantano, where he'll allow some people to use it, but when he sees that there's a financial opportunity to make money from it, then he strikes and pounces on it and tries to threaten for money in return for the use of the meme clip. According to Activision, he's stated that he's done this before to a couple of other organizations, I suppose, to which they have complied, but Activision isn't going to. They are arguing he doesn't have the legal grounds to do that. He can't just selectively enforce who's allowed to use that when he has knowingly uploaded it to a directory that has a blanket use for everyone for any purpose whatsoever. And it extends to normal users too, and this is what I was saying a bit earlier, where this argument from Activision is actually helpful to normal TikTok users, because normal TikTok users often rely on the Commercial Sound library in their content, and by their own terms, it should be safe for them to use. But if Anthony Fantano does squeak out the W here, the big dubski, it would kind of throw that into turmoil, where you wouldn't feel comfortable using the Commercial Sound library anymore, because there could be a bad actor that has swooped in to exploit it, where you might use one of their memes and they'll sue you for it or demand compensation for it, even though it was uploaded to the Commercial Sound library. So like, if Sally Strawberry taps into a popular meme and the user's like, damn, that content was fucking cheeks, that was some turbo ass, I want money because you used it, then it would be a lot scarier. Now, obviously, Activision isn't making this argument for the better of the platform. They're arguing in their own selfish interests, but what they're arguing does actually extend to help protect normal users if Activision wins. I've seen a lot of discussion on this topic, and it seems it's all hyper-focused on brand versus creator, which I do understand. A lot of the claims are around brands trying to exploit creators and use their likeness to mislead consumers through advertisements and falsely label support where there is none. Like, I do get that angle, but this case is not specific to just that. If it was, I wouldn't really give a fuck. My heart's not exactly breaking or shedding any tears because brands might not be able to use TikTok memes. That's not a big deal to me. It's just simply, this was in the Creative Sound library, and there is a potential that it wasn't uploaded by Anthony Fantano with his knowledge. There is definitely wiggle room that maybe there was some kind of automatic inclusion in there that he didn't consent to. That is possible, and that would be a core component of this case. That would be very, very interesting if that's the truth. But since it is there, and it does clearly state brands can use it for any purpose, then if the rules against them, it means that no one can really use it for any purpose, because all of a sudden it's now unsafe. This is just one of those things where I do think there's a potential for a dangerous precedent being set, where if someone knowingly uploads something to the commercial sound library, which obviously states that it can be used by anyone, including brands, for any purpose, you really shouldn't have the right or ability to start attacking selectively and threatening people for money, because that extends beyond just brands. That extends to literally any user ever. What's to stop me from uploading tons of audio and sounds and shit to the commercial sound library as bait, and then just going around cease and desisting and demanding money from people that use it because they were under the impression that it was safe to use? It's one of those things that exists on other platforms as well. Like YouTube has one for music. It's the Common Music Library or something like that, where artists knowingly post songs that are DMCA free for creators to use. You know, they just choose the music and it's totally fine, there's no problems. But what if an artist said, you know what, I'm going to put music on here, and when a popular YouTuber uses it, I'm going to demand money from it, even though it's uploaded to a service that states that it's, you know, okay to use and there will be no problems with it. It's one of those things where these directories exist on other platforms like YouTube and Twitch, and if all of a sudden people are able to put things on there as kind of like a trap where you use it and then you could potentially face like a lawsuit or something, it's just bad for everybody, not just brands. And according to a lawyer named Richard Hogue, he believes the company has a decent case. Basically, he says, as described by Activision, it would seem they have a good case. The TikTok audio library appears to allow for general commercial use on TikTok, so anyone placing content in the library should be limited in their rights to challenge. That said, there could still be facts we don't know, like whether an unauthorized third party actually affected the sound's inclusion, or even where it might have been automated. So fundamentally, the entire case is going to have to be argued on Fantano's side that he was not the one that put it in the commercial sounds library. At least that's my understanding of it, because again, it is entered in there apparently, and since it's there, it means any brand, company, or user can use it without consequence. It's fair game, you know? It's open season on enough slices. So Activision saying, since that's the case, Anthony Fantano can't try and threaten them for money because they used it. And Activision is seeking a declaratory ruling that will prevent not only Anthony Fantano, but anyone on the platform, any kind of bad actor perhaps, that might come forward to try and extort money out of users that use content from the commercial sound library, when it's totally in their right to use that content. The only thing that can really win this for Anthony Fantano, I think, is if he can prove that he wasn't the one who opted into the commercial sound library for the Enough Slices clip. It was some kind of third party that automatically entered it in there without his knowledge, or it was, you know, a fucking burglar broke in and in the middle of the night uploaded the Enough Slices audio or meme clip to the commercial sounds library. I feel like that's the only thing in this case, but even then, I still don't know how liable Activision would be for damages, because it's not like they would know that it wasn't Anthony Fantano that uploaded it. It's there, thus you would work under the assumption that the user is the one that put it there. So the whole case is just really messy, and it really fucking sucks because I very much dislike Activision. I really fucking do. But here, I just don't really see how Anthony Fantano has a good argument in this case. I'm going to go ahead and just play all the stream clips where I went through this from the very beginning here so you can kind of follow along with the entire story. I kind of just broke it down here in the beginning, but in the stream clips you'll get to get the entire, you know, situation. So I'll just go ahead and let that rip. The game company claims Anthony Fantano is misusing intellectual property laws by threatening to sue TikTokers over a widely memed audio clip. Video game giant Activision is suing a prominent TikTok music critic over a viral audio clip that he created, claiming he is unfairly demanding that some of the social media users pay him an extortionate settlement after they reused the heavily memed clip. In a complaint filed Monday in California, Activision accused Anthony Fantano of misusing intellectual property laws by threatening to selectively sue TikTokers who use Enough Slices, a popular audio clip that originated with a video Fantano posted in 2021. Activision, which says it received such a threat after it used the clip in a promotion for its Crash Bandicoot franchise, claims that Fantano intentionally made the clip available through TikTok's audio library, meaning he cannot now sue the hundreds of thousands of users that choose to use it. This dispute is a textbook example of how intellectual property law can be misused by individuals to leverage unfair cash payments, Activision's lawyer wrote. Fantano was very happy to receive the benefit of the public use of the Slices video. It was only after he identified a financial opportunity, namely receiving unjustified settlement payments, that he suddenly decided that his consent was limited. This law does not permit, and the court should not countenance such overt gamesmanship. That is interesting. If you make something available through the TikTok audio library, I'm very unfamiliar with the platform, does that just waive your right to enforce, like, IP law on it? Probably. Makes sense. It's like a public audio repository. Well, what I want to know, if on TikTok, do things just enter the TikTok's audio library by default, just by posting? Because I know they have that, like, original sound shit, and it goes to the source, and it's like fucking Bumblefuck Joe over here is the one that created it, but it's not like he did it on his own accord. TikTok auto-generated it. Yeah, at least I think that's how it works, right? You have to make it a sound through a video. Oh, so you do have to, like, say, I want this in the audio library by making it a sound. That's a very interesting case. So has Fantano done this to other TikTok creators, or is it just Activision? And if it is other creators and not just Activision, I wonder what the legal ground is for using it in an official ad. Because it'd be different if it's just like, you know, fucking Carl Hamburger using Anthony Fantano's meme in a TikTok versus Activision using it in an official ad. Only way I think Fantano has a case is if someone else uploaded his video audio to the library. True. In its lawsuit, Activision says there's an obvious reason why this clip was used so widely. Fantano deliberately and knowingly added the audio to TikTok's library, making it easily available for millions of other users to incorporate into their own videos. They say he even opted into the commercial sounds library, which means he agreed his clip could be legally used in promotional videos and brands. That sounds like a dagger if that's true. That sounds like it's open and shut if that's the case, if that's real. If he opted into the commercial sounds, that seems like he waived all rights on that. I don't know how he'd win this case. The company says it was surprised when it received a legal threat from Fantano after it used enough slices in a TikTok video depicting the creation of custom Crash Bandicoot sneakers. He allegedly told the gaming giant the use of his clip not only used his name and likeness rights without permission, but also violated federal trademark laws by suggesting he had endorsed the company's games, which is a real thing. You can't do that. But if it was made readily available on the Commercial Sounds library, I don't know how you're supposed to argue that you didn't give your permission. That's what this is for, I imagine. This is what it's for on every other platform. Maybe it's different on TikTok. Activision says it agreed to pull the clip down, but Fantano demanded the company either immediately pay him substantial monetary damages or be prepared to defend a lawsuit. The exact amount of money demanded was not included in the lawsuit, but Activision says Fantano asked for a six-figure sum and said that other companies had paid a similar sum in order to avoid the expense of litigation. What the fuck? On his Dr. Evil grind, $1 billion. Hey, I'm always rooting for the little guy here. I don't know how you're supposed to somehow argue that what they did is illegal and violated federal trademark laws if it was knowingly agreed upon to enter the Commercial Sounds library. That seems like it's an uphill battle, but I mean, that maybe there's more to it. This is right now just Activision's lawyer. With Fantano's approval and encouragement, hundreds of thousands of TikTok users have incorporated Slice's audio into their videos over the past 2 years. But now, Fantano has embarked on a scheme whereby he selectively threatens to sue certain users of the Slice's audio unless they pay him extortionate amounts of money for their alleged use. The commercial music library from the TikTok's ad manager. Let's see. In order to get it there, it's called Commercial Sounds. Even in the own post, Commercial Sounds. But it's listed as the commercial music library. Okay, I see. So this is it. This is correct. CML features commercial sounds, both with and without lyrics, whatever. Who can use the commercial music library? Is for TikTok users that use TikTok for marketing, advertising, sponsorships, endorsements, or publicity, including official brand accounts, their promotional partners and creators, NGOs, and government organizations. You can also use the commercial music library for organic and paid content. This sounds like it's kaput. If it was uploaded there by Fantano, I think it's probably checkmate. Yes, sir, lawyer critical. Hey, man, it's just basic reading comprehension. If I uploaded me saying, you know, woo, yeah, baby, to the commercial library, I can't exactly be upset if all these brands start using it. I can't then start looking for compensation. Yeah, you can. No, I can't. I literally cannot. Do you agree that your sound can be used by brands, marketing, endorsements, sponsorships, and all of that? Yes. Okay. And now I don't. I've changed my mind. You can't. Why? Because you signed. It's here. You put it here. It's literally the SpongeBob scene of, is this your wallet? Like when Man Ray's trying to return the wallet to Patrick. Was the advert also on TikTok? Apparently, yes. According to this, it was a TikTok video they made about Crash Bandicoot that used the sound. I think Danny's right. I think he'd have to prove that he wasn't the one that uploaded it to the commercial sound library. Even then, that wouldn't be on Activision. Them taking it down at his request would have been more than enough. True. That would be true. They would have no idea that it wasn't him, but instead his evil twin that uploaded it. I mean, you're not wrong. And they did take it down. They just said, oh, okay, we'll take it down. And now they have to defend themselves against a lawsuit, or they have to defend themselves against legal threats, and are now issuing a lawsuit as a counter. Are you talking about this last sentence? Activision is seeking a so-called declaratory ruling that Fantano cannot sue TikTok users over the clip. They're saying that Fantano can't go after anyone that uses the clip because they're well within their rights to, since he waived the rights by putting it on that commercial library. I'm confused. This trial about Okay, here's a little advice to all of these publications writing articles about this. Change the title. This title has confused everybody. Actually, reading through the case is very different. In a nutshell, Anthony Fantano had a very popular clip, meme clip, which was entered into the commercial music library, commercial sound library, whatever, on TikTok. It became usable, so a lot of people used it on TikTok, including Activision. And when Activision used it, Anthony Fantano threatened them, forced them to take it down, which they did, and then said, if you don't pay me a six-figure sum, allegedly, then you're going to have to defend them. You're going to have to defend yourself in court. And then apparently also said other companies have paid a sum to avoid this. So now Activision is suing, saying, no, you can't do that. You uploaded this to the commercial sound library, meaning anyone can use this, including companies. And Activision's right. It's literally in the exact terms on TikTok that the commercial music library is usable by any brand, any user, anything for any purpose. You consent to that being used anywhere when it is uploaded there. I don't know how he would win this one. But I'm no Activision fan, so if he squeaks out a dub from this, that'd be fucking crazy. That would be wild. I have no idea how he'd do it. I don't even think Saul Goodman could pull this one off, but if he somehow did, that would be unreal. That is a good point, actually. Okay, you made a good point, Otaku. Cool name as well, I guess. It'd fuck everyone else by letting him win and set a precedent that you could pull your agreement after making it. That would be actually pretty dangerous. If Fantano does win, he sets the precedent that even if you upload your sounds to the commercial sounds library, meaning you waive the right and anyone can use it for any reason without compensation, if he does win, that means anything uploaded there is fair game for a lawsuit if you use it. That's a very good point. That's very true. I'm sure even Patrick Starr's gotten this news by now. PayPal Honey, a wildly successful browser extension used by millions, turned out to be a big scam, allegedly. Except it's not alleged, it is factually a scam, in my opinion. I think Honey is more of a scam than the shake weight. This shit is foul. And thanks to a multi-year investigation conducted by a YouTuber named Megalag, it has blown the lid wide open on this operation from Honey. And just like my bubble guts after I make the mistake of eating a hot dog at a hockey game, it's bad. So bad, in fact, that it has now led to a class action lawsuit being filed against Honey. Another YouTuber named Legal Eagle just posted this video announcing this class action lawsuit they're filing against them. Now, when you hear the term YouTuber, most of you picture a bumbling imbecile like me. But contrary to popular belief, not every content creator is overdosing on stupid juice. Legal Eagle is a real attorney, not some phony baloney, horse hockey, a title he gave himself from Roblox or anything. And he made this video going over the motivation behind this class action lawsuit, believing that PayPal Honey has caused substantial financial damages to a substantial number of people. Now, this isn't his first rodeo announcing a lawsuit. I believe he's made 2 other videos talking about something that he's suing. This one obviously comes pretty early into the investigation that Megalag has conducted. Keep in mind, that was part 1 of a 3-part series that Megalag is releasing on his multi-year investigation of Honey. And part 1 already had enough foul play to lead to a class action lawsuit. I don't even know how much worse it could get with this rabbit hole. Like, part 2 might just prove PayPal Honey was trying to cast the infinite Tsukiyomi and trap everyone on Earth into a Genjutsu where we just keep fucking giving them affiliate commissions or something. Like, I do not know what else could possibly come out from Honey. Lord help us, part 3 from the investigation might just conclude and prove that PayPal Honey was trying to quantumly inject microchips into our brains or something. It really is, like, it's fascinating just how bad this company is. That one part of a 3-part investigation was enough to lead to a class action lawsuit against them. And it's not a frivolous lawsuit either. There's not really any question of whether or not Honey was engaging in taking affiliate commissions. They openly confirmed with Megalag that, like, they acknowledge that, yes, we will sometimes be the last click and get that affiliate commission. They openly say that. So that's not even what's called into question. It's more so now, is it fully illegal? And in my moron eyes, like my idiot vision, I think it has to be, right? Like, I talked about it a bit on stream last night. I'll show you some clips there. But I think it is the textbook definition of cookie stuffing, which does have a legal precedent set that it's wire fraud. Now, I think there's been a little confusion on exactly how big of a scam this is, so I'm going to try and break it down into even simpler terms. A lot of people are under the impression that the only people affected are those that promoted Honey. Like, who cares about influencers that lost money, through commissions and stuff? That's not the actual scope of it. Even setting aside the blatant false advertising where Honey claims it gets you the best coupons available, which is proven to be untrue. In fact, they hide the best coupons from you because they work with the companies directly to give you what coupons they want you to have access to. So they'll give you like a 5% coupon, even though you could find a 20% one on your own. Honey tells you that doesn't exist. There's only this 5%. Setting that aside, which directly hurts the people that use Honey, setting that aside, the affiliate theft, what I believe to be cookie stuffing, it comes from people no matter what their familiarity is with Honey. So let's say your grandmother, this is the example I've been giving on stream to try and help explain it. Let's say your grandmother on Facebook, she has an affiliate link to baking supplies, Tupperware. She has an affiliate link for Tupperware, and she shares that on her Facebook page. And you, being the good grandson you are, want to support her and give her a little commission, and you could use the Tupperware. So you click her affiliate link, you go to the Tupperware, as you're checking out, Honey pops up and says, do you want to check for coupons? And you click, sure, I might as well. So you click that, it finds no coupons, you close it. And then you finish your checkout. Well, what happened is, when you click that from Honey, Honey took the affiliate commission. So your grandmother got nothing, and she'll never even know you clicked that affiliate link. Honey got the whole thing, because Honey is a brand partner of that Tupperware, not the grandmother with the affiliate link. Thus, when Honey poached the affiliate commission, they got all of the money, not your grandmother, even though it was your grandmother's link that brought the sale to the Tupperware. But that company will never know that it was the grandmother's link that did it. They will just see that it was Honey that got the last click. Thus, they have to pay out the commission to Honey. That's what's going on. Your grandmother had never heard of Honey. She never promoted Honey, but you had it because maybe your favorite YouTuber talked about it, or maybe you just happen to see all the advertisements elsewhere for it. That's the actual spaghetti and meatballs of it. It's not just people that promoted the Honey, getting butt fucked or anything. It's anyone that has Honey and then tries to click an affiliate link. Honey will take it, even if that affiliate link came from someone that knows nothing about Honey. And another good thing that was pointed out in Megalag's video, even when Honey provides no value at all, where you're in checkout and Honey says, hey, just popping up to let you know, didn't find anything. Like, even if you don't click anything, it just pops up and says, hey, I'm here, I got nothing for you, and you click, to exit out, you click got it to get rid of it. You clicking got it, even though it came up and said, hey, we didn't find anything, we're not even trying to find it, there's nothing here for us, even though it did actually nothing, you just clicking got it will take the affiliate commission. And the person who had the affiliate link will never know that that even happened. Another big question is, well, how did people not know they were missing out on money? How did they not know they weren't getting paid? That's how, because you never even knew it was happening, because someone just having honey took the whole commission, so you never saw any of it. I think for a lot of people there was a misunderstanding that people were getting paid by honey, and they didn't understand how people didn't recognize they were just missing payments from honey. Like, how could you possibly ignore that? No, that's not the case. Anyone that had honey installed and engaged in clicking an affiliate link, that commission never made it to whoever the affiliate was. Honey would take it. So the actual affiliate would never even know that it happened, which is why it was impossible to ever even find out. That's what made it so slippery and so sneaky. And that's also why it's nearly impossible to know just how much money was lost this way, and why it's likely into the deep millions upon millions of dollars. Which is why I think this class action lawsuit could be huge. Of course, I'm not a lawyer, I didn't pass the bar, I don't know for sure, but it seems like there is so much money that was likely lost from this because of PayPal Honey stealing the affiliate commissions. Now, the next question a lot of people ask is, did PayPal know? PayPal purchased Honey for $4 billion. You bet your sweet bippy they knew. I've been flip-flopping on this back and forth, but for a $4 billion purchase, I think they would have audited the shit out of that company. I think they would have absolutely known that this was like their bread and butter. Because how else are they making money? Like, really, how else are they making money when you really stop to think about it? Markiplier pinned the tail on the donkey. His gut was absolutely right. Like, PayPal would have had to have known that when they purchased this company. I think it's now just a matter of, did PayPal know that it might be illegal? Did they knowingly spend $4 billion on illegal business practices, which would be mind-boggling if that is the case? If the answer is yes to that question. So I'm very interested to see where this class action goes. But anyway, I want to show you some of the clips from the stream because we dove into their terms of service. Honey actually is so fucking scummy that they snuck some shit into their terms of service, which of course nobody's reading. Everyone knows no one reads the terms of service. Even the law knows no one is actually sitting through and reading through every single fucking term of service for the things they sign up for. But Honey knew that and snuck some shit in there to try and cover their own ass. Like I said after the initial part 1 of the investigation, this is going to be a huge class action. There is unironically millions of dollars that were probably lost along the way for a lot of different people. So I'm very curious to see just how big it gets. I think it's almost billions of dollars lost. I've got to stop the music for that. Okay, it's going to be a lot of money, but billions? Is Honey even worth billions? PayPal paid $4 billion for it. I got to stop the music for this. Did you know Honey's terms of service make it so you can't sue them with a class action? I'm going to look that up myself right now. I don't believe you. But no one ever reads the terms of service. But I imagine Legal Eagle would have before the class action. Let's see. Let's look at the Join Honey terms of use. Though I don't think let's just assume it's there for a second. Does that protect you? Would that even actually protect you? I don't think so. Wasn't there a ruling not too long ago that said, like, no one reads the terms of service, so you really can't put in legally binding shit like that? I vaguely recall that being a actual court ruling. This agreement contains 1. An arbitration provision, 2. A waiver of rights to bring a class action lawsuit against us, and 3. A release by you of claims for damage against us that may arise out of your use of the service to the greatest extent permitted by applicable law. By using the service, you agree to these provisions. Their lawyers are good. They've got the Sharingan out. How could they have seen the potential class action coming? They stopped us before we even started. I wonder how far by applicable law goes. There's no way that's going to actually protect them. You can't just say, like, you can't sue us and then do blatantly illegal shit. That's not how that works. Arbitration clause and class action waiver. Important. Please review as this affects your legal rights. In caps lock. Oh man, yeah. This seems like panic. Arbitration. You agree that all disputes between you and us, whether or not such dispute involves a third party with regard to your relationship with us, including without limitation dispute related to this agreement, your use of the service and/or rights of privacy and/or publicity, will be resolved by binding individual arbitration under the American Arbitration Association's rules for arbitration of consumer-related disputes, and you and we hereby expressly waive trial by jury. Why would you want that? I'm sure the jury would side with you guys. I don't know why it's screaming at me, though. Oh, wait. Here comes a threat of their own. Provided, however, that to the extent that you may have... Provided, however, that to the extent that you have in any manner violated or threatened to violate our intellectual property rights, we may seek injunctive or other appropriate relief in any state or federal court in the state of California. Discovery and rights to appeal in arbitration are generally more limited than in a lawsuit, and other rights that you and we would have in court may not be available in arbitration. Now they're tossing their big meat around. That's interesting. I've heard that too. Someone in Legal Eagle's comments brought up that what Honey did could be considered cookie stuffing, which is a form of wire fraud, and that there's legal precedent for it. I've heard that a couple times. I might as well look at it before hopping onto Rivals to start my Grandmaster climb. So cookie stuffing is legitimately a real term. It is a real thing that they have cracked down on. Deceptive tactic in affiliate marketing. It is considered fraudulent. But what is the legal precedent? Because I think it is the textbook definition of cookie stuffing what Honey was doing. So it's been considered a form of wire fraud, and in 2006, eBay collaborated with the Federal Bureau of Investigation in a sting operation targeting top affiliate marketers. So it looks like in 2006 there was a big case with it. Sean Hogan, eBay's largest affiliate marketer, was found to have engaged in cookie stuffing. His strategy involved modifying his website to load resources from eBay servers, thereby setting affiliate cookies on users' browsers. The technique falsely attributed subsequent eBay purchases to Hogan's site. Despite Hogan making over $28 million through eBay's affiliate commissions, it was determined that Hogan's activities did not contribute any substantial revenue to eBay. In the subsequent legal proceedings, Hogan pleaded guilty to a single wire fraud charge, leading to a 5-month federal prison sentence and a $25,000 fine. Okay, he got off pretty easy. There's another case as well. Also, eBay affiliate marketing, Brian Dunning. Similar tactics with cookie stuffing during 2006 to 2007. So there is a legal precedent set. They don't like it. But it's not harshly punished either. How interesting. Like I said, this should be a slam dunk case. I really think it should be pretty open and shut. They have a ton of money though, so it'll probably get hairy. You should go to law school, you'd be good at it. Brother, I'm a fucking moron. Why would you name drop an ancient evil that I haven't talked about in a couple of years now? Poopsie Slime Surprise Unicorns. This was a very expensive toy that was marketed towards children, and the whole concept is it's a unicorn that poops into a toilet. There's two models, one that just sings about defecating, and then one where kids can become their own little Walter White, and instead of making meth, they're making feces, and it'll poop it out into a toilet. I made a video on it almost 3 years ago now. It's actually where that woo yeah baby meme comes from. It was from the Poopsie Slime Surprise video. And I made quite a bit of content around it because I was so blown away by the concept. It's just a toy that shits. That's it. And yet it's extremely popular with kids. I understand I'm getting older now, and aging is cringe, but there's no way I'm that out of touch. What the fuck is the joy of watching a plastic unicorn take a shit? I still don't fully understand it. And it's not just Poopsie. It spawned an entire wave of shitters. So there's a flamingo that shits called Gotta Go Flamingo. There's also a couple other animals that do it as well. And it's all just about a dilated butthole fucking dumping slime into a toilet and calling it shit. It's wild. But anyway, the reason I'm talking about Poopsie today is because they're actually getting sued by the Black Eyed Peas because Poopsie Slime Surprise made a parody of their song, My Humps. It's called My Poops. I'm not going to play any of it for you now because it could now be a bit of a legal issue if I was. But the song goes, my poops, my poops, my poops. What you going to do with all that poop? Whoop, whoop. I'm going to get loopy off my poopy. And it continues, and it's very clearly supposed to be a play off my humps. Apparently they didn't have permission for it and are being sued by the Black Eyed Peas now, which is just a wacky lawsuit because it has to talk about poopsie and shitting unicorns and comparing it to the Black Eyed Peas music. This is going to be a lawsuit to keep an eye on. This might be a industry-defining moment. This is a big one, no doubt. I went over it on stream, reading about it. I was actually surprised to learn that apparently a parody like My Poops is often protected by fair use regulation. I was under the impression that when you're borrowing other melodies and music from existing tracks, you had to pay for the licensing rights to use it, like the same way you do if you're using samples from other songs in your music. You have to pay for the sample. I thought it worked like that for a parody song as well. But I guess there's actually a bit of gray area there and some wiggle room, so there is a chance Poopsie Slime Surprise walks out with a W from this lawsuit. But then again, they could absolutely get flushed down the toilet. But hey, like I said, I'm not entirely sure. It's an interesting and goofy lawsuit nonetheless. There is a chance Poopsie Slime Surprise emerges from the sewer victorious. But anyway, I'll go over some of the stream moments here while I was reading about it and expanding on it. Did you hear about the South Park lawsuit? No, but you did just remind me one I haven't talked about yet. The Black Eyed Peas are suing Poopsie Slime Surprise. I totally forgot to talk about that. You remember that pooping unicorn? The shit that gave me an involuntary vasectomy when I was getting out of the packaging? They're getting sued because of their track. So Black Eyed Peas, My Humps ripped off by pooping unicorn toy lawsuit claims, which it was. I don't know if I can even play the song, considering this is now a legal issue, but the song goes, my poops, my poops, my poops, gonna get loopy off my poopy. It's very much a rip-off of My Humps, and I guess they didn't have permission to do that, which is interesting. Doesn't fall in the parody. Well, you still need permission to do a parody. If you're using the exact same, like, everything, you still need permission. That's why Weird Al never made a Prince song, because Prince would never give him permission. Oh, I forgot how expensive the Poopsie Slime Surprise is. $100 to $300 on Amazon. And one of them doesn't even shit itself. The one that slammed into my nutsack, that one actually doesn't shit itself, whatever. And it's still super expensive. That one just sings and dances. If you want the one that actually cooks up and, like, brews feces, it's a big science project. Matt and I made like 3 videos with the Poopsie Slime Surprise a few years back. I know this toy inside and out. I performed like colonoscopies on this thing. So yeah, I know all about the entire animals shitting themselves genre of children's toys. This is the clip, this is the video where the whoa yeah baby clip comes from. This one, yeah. This has been in circulation for a long time. I'm surprised they've waited like 2 or 3 years to sue them. Maybe they were trying to make sure that it got maximum money, so they were letting it ride for a long time so that way they could like sue for more, because they could claim more damages and they can turn to like the profit the Poopsie makes, because it's apparently a very popular toy, which I would have never guessed. That would have been a galaxy brain scheme, and it's probably exactly what the reasoning was. People pay for unicorn shit when I can send you shit for free. Why would you do that, though? That just costs you money to send this shit. This is kind of a weird paragraph. BMG's lawyer alleges that My Poops infringes on Black Eyed Peas' surprise 2005 hit single My Humps, 75% of whose publishing rights belong to BMG thanks to a corporate acquisition. What's the point in mentioning that it was a surprise hit? It feels so weird. And then, I guess the corporate acquisition is pertinent to the case, but still. Interesting to just mention that it's a surprise hit single. It was the Black Eyed Peas. They didn't make anything that flopped during that era. So, going into this, I felt like the Black Eyed Peas had a pretty strong case, but listening to them argue it is kind of silly, It uses a similar delivery and vocal inflections as used by Fergie on the original sound recording. I just couldn't disagree more. I'd love to pull up the song real quick, but I don't want to get slapped by this somehow. It's very clearly like a Alvin and the Chipmunks style vocal. Fergie doesn't sound like that. That's just like an insult to Fergie to compare her to the shitting unicorn vocalist. It's pretty dumb. But, I mean, overall, yeah, they did rip the song, and I guess it was without permission. Oh, interesting. MGA Entertainment first released the toy in time for Christmas 2018. The suit alleges that when BMG became aware of the infringement, it sent a cease and desist letter, which they ignored. What a fucking Chad. Yeah, we make a unicorn that shits into a toilet for kids. What of it? We're gonna play hardball. Fuck your cease and desist. Oh, interesting. The company could argue that My Poops is a parody of My Humps and thus protected as fair use. In Campbell v. Acuff Rose Music in 1994, Supreme Court held that the parody can be a form of comment or criticism on the original work, which is protected. I thought you couldn't do that for music, though. Am I misremembering? Because for Weird Al... Weird Al never did a parody of a Prince song and never will. Because Prince didn't want him to. Now, was that just out of respect? Because I thought it was a legal thing. Okay. I was misunderstanding then. All of this over a defecation. A YouTuber named Megalag dropped a video that was the culmination of an extended investigation that spanned the course of a very long period of time about a company who has worked very closely in the YouTube ecosystem for years, Honey, who was once the YouTube darling sponsor absolutely everywhere, more common than the cold, and never really had like a bad reputation, but Megalag, through a very extensive investigation, found some shocking, shady things that not a lot of people knew about. And I don't want to just regurgitate everything from that video. I'm sure you probably have already seen it because it was such a huge deal. Even outside of just the YouTube space, it was a really big thing. Because this is a multi-billion-dollar company that was engaging in some really underhanded tactics that really tiptoe on the line for what is and is not legal, many would argue, which is why they've been faced with so many civil lawsuits since. Now, I know one of them was recently dismissed, but from what I can tell, it's not fully dismissed. It's pending an amendment, from what I can tell. But even still, even if that one gets crumpled up and thrown in the wastebasket from fucking way downtown, that's one of many. There's a lot still out there cooked up and being pushed against PayPal Honey. It's like the scene in SpongeBob when the anchovies charge the Krusty Krab. There is so many civil lawsuits here because a ton of people feel like they have been wronged, misled, and even in certain cases scammed by PayPal Honey. Megalag came from the top turnbuckle and delivered a biblical smackdown with a lot of really convincing evidence, and just released his part 2, the follow-up, which goes even deeper and exposes even more, and also starts talking about it from the small businesses that are being affected and a lot of things that are just being outright lied about by PayPal Honey, allegedly here. It's fascinating, and PayPal Honey has cease and desisted Megalag, claiming a bit of horseradish, I would say, trying to silence him because these are really damning things. The evidence is very, very strong. I highly recommend you check out the entire video from Megalag here. Of course, I'll link it in the description. I'm only going to cover a small portion of this because I really think you need to watch the entire thing. I think you need to see how the sausage is made here, but I will cover a couple of core components. But just as a little refresher, if you don't remember some of the things PayPal Honey is accused of, one of the big things outside of, like, obviously consumers not exactly getting what they thought they were out of Honey is the affiliate poaching. So creators that worked with Honey that would have their own special deals to promote to their audience, the audience would then use those codes on the website. But Honey had some protocol that would occasionally perhaps poach that sale and take the commission that was supposed to go to the creator, and they would take the lion's share. There were a lot of cases that Megalag was able to point to, and even in his follow-up video shows even stronger evidence for, of how this actually functions, where it seems to be a core component of Honey itself, where it will overwrite your cookie. It will inject itself, and it is looking to make that commission in a lot of cases. It's very scummy shit. And I know after the first video he dropped, a lot of people's response was, who gives a fuck? The creators can suck my dick, and my heart doesn't break for these businesses. They can go eat dirt. Okay, that's your prerogative. I'm not your fucking dad. I'm not going to come in there with the belt and make you change your mind or whatever. That's fine. But in this second part of the video, you can hear from a business how that actually fucks you as a consumer.
A few hours ago, PayPal's lawyer sent me a cease and desist letter and requested Patreon take down my video under a copyright infringement claim. I consider this a direct attack against my fundamental rights as an independent journalist. PayPal has specifically taken issue with the fact that an anonymous source discovered Honey had left their source code exposed within their iOS app, which, if you know where to look, is publicly accessible. This anonymous source found the code and sent it to me. I reviewed the code for security research purposes, which is a protected act, and I only published relevant sections of the code that provide important context to the story, which I consider within the realm of public interest.
I haven't seen the unredacted video here where the source code was like more talked about, where he had these video components that showed, I suppose, sections of that when it was relevant. But it seems like it was more so a convenient excuse for PayPal to get the video taken down from his Patreon, and in order to get around that for the YouTube video, he just took the entire section out. Again, I haven't seen with my own peepers here what it looked like in all its glory with the full makeup on, where, you know, the source code section was intact. But just based off of like the small bits, apparently it wasn't even that long, it feels like it's a pretty flimsy thing for PayPal to try and like strike it down for. I imagine it's more so to like hide even further proof for some of the things that you're about to learn about in the rest of the video. I never like when companies do something like this. Of course, there is like copyright protections, and in certain cases it makes sense to do so. I can't really see a strong justification for their action here on the cease and desist. It doesn't really pass the smell test for me here, especially considering it seems like he was very reserved with what was displayed from the source code based on how he speaks about it. But again, I can't say for 100% certain. I just find it hard to believe that PayPal Honey was acting in good faith with the cease and desist. That seems like they're trying to hush him up a bit.
Why? Well, you see, besides lying to consumers and stealing from influencers, Honey was also causing serious harm to small businesses. So much so that I believe brands have likely suffered millions of dollars in damages. But that's not all. In this video, you're also going to learn how Honey was collecting and sharing your data, and how they, in my opinion, illegally targeted minors through influencers such as Mr. Beast. Strong accusations, I know, but I have the receipts.
And the receipts are pretty convincing. So those are like the main components of this new video. This is an hour-long video almost. It goes deep here. This shit is deeper than my pussy. It is a very thorough look at all of it. And I know after the first video, people had a lot of questions, and I feel like here he sheds even more light on it through an even deeper analysis of Honey itself and the way in which it functions. It's not just him working alone. He had people help him with like getting a lot of the data so it can be viewed more easily and more accessible. So that way he doesn't have to make any like leaping conclusions or anything. He doesn't have to just like start trying to fill in the blanks off of, you know, just fucking hunch, like intuition. He's able to look at these things much closer in order to draw much stronger, analysis from it. It really is quite the deep dive, and like I said, I don't want to like show just a ton of his video. I would really like you to go watch it yourself, because I think it is eye-opening stuff. I want to focus on just a couple of things here that I know a lot of people debated after the first video about like, well, why should anyone that's not a creator or a fucking business owner care? Who gives a shit? Call the wambulance. I think that one of the business owners that Megalag had in this video giving his piece explains why this is a big deal, why it is bad for not only the small businesses that are not consenting to working with Honey, that are kind of just being forced to without even their knowledge sometimes, why it is bad for them with receipts and email exchange with PayPal Honey directly, why it has been a nightmare for them, and why it is also bad for you. You also get the business end of this penis. Even if you're not a Honey user, if you're watching this be like, well, I don't care, I don't use Honey anyway, well, it still affects you. And it's a very simple reason how and why.
In fact, Made in Cookware CEO Chip perfectly summed up the devastating impact Honey's actions can have on a small business.
When you're in the early stages of building a business, you're in the stage of, will this company even work? Is there product market fit? How do I scale this thing? Can the economics work, right? And so all the things we talked about, these discount codes and the kind of removal of attribution and killing margin, like those really affect the early stages of a company, from everything from where do I put the next dollar in to make sure I can survive, down to you're taking 10, 15, 20% of my sales without me wanting it. And we have digital marketing costs, we have shipping costs, we have all these stacks of costs that not only are getting more inflated over time, like FedEx has been raising their rates over time, warehousing costs have gone up, COGS have gone up, as you know, through inflation for the last 4 or 5 years, right? Like all the cost structures have been going up, and to have someone just stealing and compressing the actual revenue you want, like puts small businesses in a real squeeze. It's just really disappointing, and it doesn't even work, because at the end of the day, like, you need to make the numbers work. And if Honey is going to steal 10% of your revenue all the time, you're going to have to raise prices at the end of the day to make up for that, right? And so it's not only not effective, but it makes it worse for the consumer. It compresses for the small business owner any margin. And it's just like a really awful business model. Like, we've been so mad at them.
That is a great explanation from him. I think that's very valuable insight that paints the whole picture clearly. Even if you're in a fucking Xanax-induced fugue state right now listening to this, I feel like you'd hear that and understand what makes this so bad for everybody. Businesses, consumers, and obviously like the affiliate partners, like the creators. One other thing that was mentioned, but I didn't put it here in this space, is how brands, like, when they find out about Honey poaching the affiliate commissions, it makes it hard for them to know where to attribute commissions. So what'll happen is this confusion where they don't know where a commission goes. So like, let's say they're working with a podcaster or a YouTuber or something, and things get really muddy. It makes it hard for them to know where they're supposed to put that money in the first place. So what ends up happening is they end up pulling out of that market entirely. So now they're not working with your favorite content creator anymore. So they're getting shafted. And they also potentially overspend on the compensation because of how confusing it gets. There was another example given how like a business had spent over $100,000 on like potentially like misattributed commissions from the affiliate marketing as a result of this kind of shit. Like, it gets to be a lot. So then they pull out of that market as well. But what's obviously the thing a lot of people are going to care the most about is how it makes the deals worse for you, because as he said, if PayPal Honey is going to be taking 10% of all of their revenue through this, which they can't really do a whole lot about, their hands being tied, well, they're going to have to make up for that loss somehow. And that is raising prices. That's how you make the numbers work again. If you're going to be losing 10%, you're going to have to raise the prices in order to compensate, so that way you're not going like negative, or you're not starting to like tread water, which is what a lot of businesses inevitably have to do. And something like PayPal Honey putting the squeeze on them makes it worse. So that is a huge problem, and that is how it affects you, even if you are not a Honey user yourself. It is a bad deal for everybody involved here, except Honey. But what's a good deal for everybody is the Starforge Christmas sale. It's live now. Click the link in the description if you're looking to upgrade your PC. Best PCs in the universe.
Chip was kind enough to share his email exchanges with Honey from 2020. And you need to see it because holy shit. Hi, I am the CEO of Made in Cookware. Please remove us from your app. You've scraped a private friends and family code from our checkout and put it on the platform for others to use. We've lost a bunch of revenue. 4 days later, Honey responds with, "Hi Chip, thanks for reaching out. Honey supports over 40,000 stores online, and we always prioritize protecting the Honey experience for users by supporting available stores and displaying available codes. We can absolutely remove the code in question. In order to protect the Honey experience for our users, we typically do not remove codes unless we have a working relationship." I mean, right off the bat, they're basically saying, we won't compromise the experience for our users unless you pay us. Classy. We'd love to discuss how we can work more closely and partner with your brand. Chip replies the same day, "We don't offer affiliate deals to coupon sites. We'd like to be removed from your site and extension completely."
The email showcased just how difficult it is to just be removed from Honey. He is putting in plain English, hey, we're losing revenue because of you guys. Please just take us off of this shit I'm begging. It's like a fucking telemarketer that's refusing to take you off the call sheet. It's brutal. He reaches out to them because Honey had scraped a private code, which is something that earlier in the video, Megalag shows very strong evidence as like a thing that happens, not super unusual with Honey, which is a code that they didn't want to be public. It shouldn't have been public. A lot of businesses have these kind of private codes for like employees or friends and families, or in some cases, as was mentioned earlier in this video, like veterans or something. And Honey will sometimes get these codes and make them public so people can use them, which really fucks the businesses because those weren't supposed to be public. They were supposed to be for a specific person or a specific purpose. So the CEO we just heard from, this is his exchange with them, reaching out like, hey, this happened to us, we're losing revenue, get rid of this, and please take us off of Honey entirely, we don't want to work with you. And whatever zombie he's talking to over there at Honey is just not letting that shit fly. They're playing hardball, trying their best to keep them shackled to Honey, even though they didn't want Honey to be there in the first place. They were uninvited to this hootenanny, yet now they don't have a choice.
His leak code was added through Honey's user-generated coupon functionality. No surprises there. She completely ignores his request to be removed from the platform, only offering to remove the leaked employee discount. Chip replies the same day, "Our friends and family code was listed on your site. That was an internal code meant for a small group of people that was never published anywhere. Our whole site can't be removed from your app." Honey only responds a week later, confirming they removed the employee discount, but again, completely ignores Chip's request to be removed from Honey. Chip responds immediately, pushing for an answer, but they ignore his email completely. A month later, and Honey leaks another private discount code. "Hi, please remove from your app. That is a private code behind a private employee perk login. This should never be public. I don't understand how you feel taking a private employee perk and making that public to the world is helping our business." Honey responds confirming they removed the code, but instead of taking responsibility, they try shifting the blame onto Chip, suggesting his employees might be responsible for sharing the code with Honey. But given what we know about their system, I'm willing to bet Honey were responsible for the leak, not Chip's employees. Honey then suggests that Chip creates single-use codes for each and every employee.
Wonderful, thanks for the unsolicited advice there on how he should run his business with his employees here, knowing full well that Honey does, in cases, take that kind of shit, even if it wasn't the fault of the employee. Allegedly. Like, it's fucking sickening. It's so disgusting, like, the pompous attitude that comes through on these emails from Honey. This is a business that did not want to be with Honey in the first place, and there was another business that was interviewed in this video about, like, how he'd never even heard of Honey, but apparently people were getting tons of discounts on his site because of Honey, and he had never even fucking heard of the service before. So Honey, and you're about to hear from Megalag in the video here, Honey seems to just be subjecting these businesses, these small businesses, to their wrath, where they're just giving out, in certain cases, private coupon codes to users, which obviously damages the small business and causes them to lose revenue and causes a huge headache there. And then the only way to get off of it is by partnering with Honey, and basically, once you are partnered with Honey, then you tell them to exclude that kind of stuff, which is something that piggybacks off of a bit of what Megalag talked about in the first video, where, you know, partnered brands, they have like these certain exclusions and stuff. It's a really like awful business model that is bad for literally everyone but Honey. And it's kind of mind-boggling how the only way to get out of it in a small business's position like this is to partner with Honey and say, stop fucking us. No more of these coupons. So they get you. They get you because they fuck you raw a bit, and they slap you around, and then when you go to them for like assistance, they're like, can't really do anything about that unless you were partnered with Honey. You ever thought about that? If you work with us, maybe fork over a couple doubloons, a little bit of those clams, well, maybe then we can work a little something out about these pesky little coupons our millions of users keep finding.
2 months later, and another private code gets leaked. And once again, Chip asks to be completely removed from the platform. And this time, Honey finally addresses the question. We proudly host a consistent shopping experience for all Honey shoppers who rely on our shopping tools. Therefore, we cannot disable Honey for individual stores, and never have. Never have, huh? Well, that's interesting, because it just so happens that Andrew from TrueGrit Texture Supply also shared his email exchange with Honey. And would you believe it? He was dealing with the exact same Honey employee as Chip. And while Honey attempted the same sales pitch with Andrew, they did eventually remove his store from the platform. So yes, it is possible, and yes, they have done it before. Once again, we've caught Honey in yet another calculated and deliberate lie. And make no mistake, it was deliberate because this employee, Kelly, confirmed the removal of Andrew's store just 1 month before assuring Chip that Honey had never removed a store before.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to argue that there. It's the same person, and also they removed that previous business a month prior to this exchange with my cookware. So, you know, it's pretty obvious that she's telling some tall tales here. This is a big old fib. They can remove them from Honey, but it seems like they'd rather not, because they'd rather you partner with them so that way they can get a little more out of it, and then you can finally stop bleeding money through these private coupons that surprisingly just keep getting leaked through Honey. It's so fucked up. Like, it really is like a crazy rabbit hole here.
When merchants discover their codes have leaked and then they want to clamp down on that, they go to these coupon extensions and plea and request to have their codes removed. And 9 times out of 10, the response is join our affiliate program and you'll have more granular control over that. And so I think merchants tend to feel a little bit as though they're being blackmailed or extorted, you know, because you join the affiliate program and then you have to pay that coupon extension company every time somebody uses a code. And you're doing that in order to have them not share your codes.
That beautifully explains just how scummy this model is, where it does appear that these small businesses feel forced to join these programs here with companies like PayPal Honey, because if they don't, well, they might keep having these problems, but by joining that company, they're not exactly all that much better off, because now they're going to have to make those affiliate payments there. So like, it is just a lose-lose for the businesses. Now, I don't want to spend too much time talking about that section here. Again, I think you should watch the whole video. I do want to touch on where he gets into like the Mr. Beast component, which is in the thumbnail, and something that was mentioned at the start of the video about like how he believes that Honey has been strategically targeting minors in certain instances based on who they've partnered with, like Mr. Beast, as well as a couple other examples he gives, and why that might not exactly be completely legal, allegedly, because there is laws about collecting data on minors. And through his investigation, with very, very strong evidence, including some of PayPal Honey's own information that they themselves have talked about, they do collect your data. They do seemingly share your data. And in the video, there's even a brief clip where someone is talking about the benefits of Honey's data collection. So even though they explicitly advertise they don't do any of that weirdo shit like collecting and sharing your data or anything like that, the truth of it is that they do collect your data. And to their merchants, they even do brag about how much data they have, and they do share that data. Megalag had a lot of very compelling evidence to prove that fact. I feel like it's pretty obvious, given everything that is accessible, that they do indeed collect that. I'll go ahead and show you that brief clip there, and then we'll get into like how the marketing to minors may be a big issue for Honey.
For their partnered merchants. Discussing the benefits of Honey's data for their partnered merchants.
You know, one of the metrics that we assess very frequently for merchants that work with Honey is, cross-store shopping. So, how many other stores is a user visiting as well as the store in question? Are they going to 6 stores? Are they going to 7 stores? Are they going to 10 stores before they make a decision on where to purchase?
And here's another former senior partnerships manager.
So like one of the things we have insight into at Honey, because we're a browser extension and we can see our shoppers and how they shop, is that shoppers love to cross-site comparison shop. We're really kind of following the shopper where they go, and we're with them every step of the way. We have all sorts of tools to make those consumers stickier to those direct-to-consumer brands.
And here's a former PayPal executive discussing how beneficial the data is for their goals.
We've got a full suite of solutions across our consumer platforms that help drive new customers, that help drive loyalty, that help drive conversion. and ultimately sales lift. And we have a lot of analytics and a lot of data, a lot of shopper data, obviously, and that's something that we can unlock on behalf of our partners.
You've got to hand it to Honey. They've truly mastered the art of selling bullshit narratives. To users, they promise privacy, insisting, hey, we never sell or share your data. But to their merchants, they literally bragged about how much of your data they had and how it could be leveraged to provide them with valuable insights into your shopping habits.
I think we can say with a pretty high level of confidence that PayPal Honey does seemingly collect your data and is more than willing to share it. So that whole claim they like to make, and even it was part of some of their marketing about, we don't collect your data and we certainly don't share that data or sell it or anything like that. Looking like that might have been a big load of hooey. Now, as it relates to being potentially a huge issue when it comes to like who they were targeting with some of their advertising is what I briefly mentioned earlier, where there are laws in place about collecting data on minors. There is a whole host of laws in regards to that subject, and you're about to hear Megalag explain it, but the core issue is, based on some of their ads they were running with some of their partners, as well as who they were partnering with for some of these ads, it does seem like they were directly trying to target Honey to minors, which means they would be collecting data on minors through having this browser extension on their devices.
It's potentially illegal in numerous jurisdictions. Many countries have very strict regulations when it comes to the collection of personal data from minors, and for good reason. Therefore, if you intend on having minors use your product, many jurisdictions require that you obtain parental consent first. But this adds all kinds of technical and legal complexities, which is why many platforms simply limit the use of their service to adults only in their privacy policy, which was Honey's approach, making him Honey's #1 sponsor. In fact, according to my data, MrBeast sponsorships represent over 1/3 of Honey's total sponsored views on YouTube. But it wasn't just MrBeast. Honey sponsored many channels whose content was, in my opinion, clearly targeted at minors. They sponsored Minecraft channels, Roblox channels, cartoon channels. I mean, just watch this video and tell me it's not targeted at children.
This video is sponsored by Honey.
I trimmed it down a bit. He goes on to say, like, if they weren't looking to get minors to install Honey, why would they sponsor someone like MrBeast or these other channels that he gives a quick snippet of, like Roblox, Minecraft, and then that skit? And he's right. The main demographic of MrBeast, it is children. I'm pretty sure that's like an objectively true statement based on data. And Roblox is predominantly a platform used by children. And that cat skit definitely seems like some Nick Jr. stuff there for children. Like, it does appear like they did have marketing pushes that were trying to get Honey in front of the eyes of minors and trying to get them to install it on their browser.
If Honey wanted to target minors so badly, they should have just sponsored one. Oh, wait a minute, that's exactly what they did. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Desiree Machado, who at the time was just 14 years old.
Guys, I'm only 14.
Hilariously, one of her videos that Honey sponsored is appropriately titled Back to School. Honey even ran her sponsored segment as a paid advert on YouTube.
If you weren't convinced before, I imagine that was enough to convince you. That's pretty damning. They literally sponsored a child to promote Honey, and even used her sponsored segment as a paid advertisement across YouTube. I think there is a very strong argument with strong evidence to suggest Honey was looking to get Honey on the devices of children, and knowing what we know now based on this evidence, it was collecting their data, which is a big legal issue potentially.
I have a challenge for all of you. Go to every computer in your house, your mom's, your dad's, your sister, your brother's computer, and install Honey.
They are literally encouraging kids to install a browser extension that tracks and collects data onto every computer in their household, including those belonging to their siblings. That is fucking insane.
And the emojis? I mean, come on!
That is a bad look for Mr. Beast indeed. Oof. It does seem pretty clear that Honey was more than willing to advertise to minors, and this is a browser extension that, based on all available evidence, does indeed track data and share data, which, again, appears to be a lot of laws in place that have very strict rules about that when it comes to the data collection of minors. So I guess we'll see what happens from there. Again, this is still not even all of what Megalag covered. I've only chosen a few things to talk about here that kind of piggybacked off of the things I was talking about from the first video. I just cannot, I've said like again 1,000 times now, but I cannot recommend watching this full video enough because it is a really surprisingly deep dive into a very, very suspicious and shady business that appears to have a lot going on under the hood here that is not very good. And the business model itself is bad for everybody, not just creators, not just businesses, and not just Honey users, but any online shoppers in general, they have a negative effect on. It's a bad deal across the board based on everything that has been presented here. Anyway, I'll stop yapping about it for now. That's really about it. See ya.